But I think the development of full artificial intelligence will spell the end of the human race.
It's a flying object and we don't know what it is. I would hope somebody is checking it out.
I don't know if it was a rocket or whatever, but it could be fast, opposite direction. It was too fast to be an airplane.
I'm glad the Pentagon is looking at this, because if it poses a threat, I want them on top of it.
Well, the craft generates its own gravitational field.
You said there's lights in the sky?
The internet has become the command center for criminals and terrorists.
911, what's your emergency? I need help, please help!
Aliens won't let it happen. You know, that's what we're instructed to say.
Roswell, Area 51. Alien kept deep under the ground.
1, 0,
doesn't have your best interest in mind. The government is self-serving. You're here for a reason. You're listening to Troubled Minds Radio. Broadcasting live from a secret bunker just off the extraterrestrial highway. Somewhere in the desert sands outside of Las Vegas. From somewhere in space-time, loosely labeled Generation X on planet Earth. And asking questions of you in earnest into the digital darkness. Well, good evening and welcome to Troubled Minds Radio. I'm your host, Michael Strange. We're streaming on YouTube, Rumble, X, Twitch, and Kick. We are broadcasting live on the Troubled Minds Radio Network. That's KUAP Digital Broadcasting. And, of course, 88.4 FM, Auckland, New Zealand. Tonight, other than technical issues to kick off the show, tonight I got a wild one for you. As usual, sometimes we go a little too deep, a little too weird, a little too wild, and off the beaten path. And with Troubled Minds, I get a little too, navel-gazy with not just philosophy, but with, sort of metaphysics and some of the other wild things we talk about. However, I thought tonight we'd go back to the beginning. Of course, not just, let's say, of the paranormal or hauntings and things of that nature, but particular spaces, liminal spaces as we like to call them. And in particular, of course, the haunted forest is one of the oldest tropes there is. That's sort of when it comes to the paranormal, okay? Because, of course, the deeper you go and the longer you spend sort of in that hiker state, okay? Shout out hiker if you're out there. And the hiker state, or, kind of out there just exploring and doing all the things that are happening out there in the wilderness, you tend to become a different critter. You become sort of feral mode, right? You start to become more of that and less of your domesticated self. And it's because you have to. You absolutely have to, because the as we've talked about in the past, the world is trying to kill you. I mean, it's just what it is. It's just, there are predators and all kinds of stuff out there. And I don't have to tell you guys, more than me. I hide here behind the keyboard, but you get what I'm saying. Suddenly, when you start to go out and venture too far into the wilderness, it becomes an unforgiving place. And in that particular sense, and what we're talking about tonight, it really feels like it is a haunted experience. Now, whether you believe in the paranormal or not is irrelevant to the conversation, because as I always say, there's a 100 ways to look at this. And if you ask the right question to 1,000 different people, you're likely to get 1,000 different answers. So your take on the paranormal is kind of irrelevant in the sense of we're talking about the trope of the haunted forest. Now, in particular, I found this, and this is what inspired it. As usual, right? Sometimes you just find inspiration in the most bizarre places. And this time it was on X, and I don't even know who this guy is, but this actual tweet has, or post as they call them these days, has garnered 2.8 million views. And he posted this on the 26th. What's today? That's today. And I'll just read it to you because this is wild, okay? And you'll see why the inspiration. But it goes like this. If you talk to any serious hiker, they're like, yes, demons are real. Make sure you don't walk along a stream for too long. Sometimes a witch trails me for miles. Avoid wearing bright colors and pray while entering the forest, or it's a typo. Pray being entering the forest, but pray while entering the forest. The ancient is still very much alive along the edges. And I thought, well, that's a weird thing. And I clicked on this guy's profile, and he seems like not a weirdo like us. And I mean that in the nicest way, of course, but I was kind of cruising through, and it seems like it's just, shallow markets and deep cultures. And, he's not too far off the rails when I'm kind of reading some of this stuff. And, he's kind of a weirdo, but I don't know, not the type of weirdo that you would expect a post like this from. But anyway, it's going super viral, and I saw it and was like, well, that's kind of cool. So we'll start with those questions. As usual, you know me, I like to talk about these ideas non-linear, open-ended, and kind of look at the granular aspects of the haunted forest, not just the trope itself, but, are demons real? Have you spent any time out there actually hiking? And, well, if you have you encountered people that say this, a serious hiker that's like, demons are real, because maybe they've seen them on the trail? And that becomes the funny part, because I was reading, some of the comments here, and there's some people that are like, I'm a serious hiker, and I've been all over the place, and I've never heard anybody say anything of the sort, right? Which is funny. And then there's other people that, of course, are going to say the opposite, as usual, and that's fine by me. Let the internet fight with each other. But it still makes for a fascinating conversation in terms of what the trope of the haunted forest looks like. Now, as usual, all the disclaimers do apply. There's no truth to be found here. This is just ideas. This is just looking at the world in a slightly different way and wondering what we're missing, because clearly that idea of a feral state that kind of brings out the most, let's say, intuitive aspect of ourselves as we blend with nature or meld with nature seems to make a lot of sense. And that we're not focused on, of course, devices or the radio or whatever the hell's going on, like the latent sort of traffic driving by, the siren in the background, this type of stuff. Like, that's completely tuned out from our brain, and our brain is tuned into a completely other space. Now, I went through this and I was looking into some of these other things, including, of course, hiker folklore. And so we'll get into some of this stuff. There's North Carolina stuff, the Phantom Hiker of Grandfather Mountain, most haunted hiking trails in America. I mean, it's on and on. It's on and on. And not just, let's say, the vanishing hitchhiker. We've talked about that in the past as well. So there's a ton of stuff kind of that layers into this, but we'll start with the simple question of what about demons? Are they real? Are you likely to find them in some backwood trail tailing you along a river? You shout out rivers that you stayed too close to. Now, like I said, it's a weird comment to make, just kind of randomly out of the blue, but I think it's super cool. And I kind of want to make posts like this. Anyway, so as usual, we're taking your calls tonight. If you want to be part of the conversation, the way to do that is to just dial the phone, 702-957-1037. You can click the Discord link at troubledminds.org and do it that way as well. And so that's what's on my mind tonight as we start. We're going to get into some other weird stuff, because if you check out the write-up tonight, it is very good, per usual. However, there's a bunch of wild ideas in this. Why these things start to happen to us in that feral state, in that sort of haunting mode where we're, every twig that breaks, we're on high alert and kind of looking over our shoulder, because there's nobody there to save you. As they say, in space, there's nobody will hear you scream or whatever, right? But deep in the forest, if you're out there by yourself, the same thing goes. If something bad happens, you're not likely to have somebody pass by and, as an accident, happy accident, save you. So it is well, the haunted forest trope. That's what's on my mind tonight. We'll get into some of this other stuff, but and I'll read you a little bit from the write-up because it's very good. Love to hear your thoughts. As usual, we got James in here. I thought the haunted forest would attract him. Shout out James. We'll talk to him in just a second here. But as usual, love to hear your thoughts on this. I can ramble on. Hey, I'll be here all night. But let's take a quick break and get a word from our sponsor, which, of course, in this case, will be the Stoic Mindset. And we'll be right back. More Troubled Minds in exactly 1 minute. Don't go anywhere. We got James Salcedo coming up, the paranormal expert of Troubled Minds, and your calls as well, and more on the haunted forest, this hiker folklore and reciprocal perception, which is super cool when we get to it. Be right back. Don't go anywhere. Feeling stressed? Overwhelmed? In today's fast-paced world, it's easy to get swept away by our emotions. Take a breath and find your inner strength with the Stoic Minute.
You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength.
The ancient Stoic philosophers understood that we can't control everything in life, but we can control how we react.
The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts.
Focus on what you can influence. Cultivate a positive mindset and let go of what you can't change. Find your inner strength. Live each day with courage, wisdom, justice, and moderation. Embrace the Stoic virtues and find peace within. The Stoic Minute, brought to you by Jack in Oregon. Oops, wrong button. And welcome back to Troubled Minds. I'm Michael Strange. Technical difficulties. I hope everybody's well tonight. There we go. That's the right button. Okay, so welcome back. Talking the haunted forest. Let us continue, shall we? Hiker folklore and reciprocal perception. Now, this is straight from the write-up. Like I said, it is very good. Do check it out. Links in the description down below. The transformation happens gradually. City dwellers who venture into backcountry for weekend trips might dismiss these accounts as campfire theatrics. But something shifts after your 10th night alone under stars so dense they seem to press down on your tent. After you've walked 40 miles without seeing another human footprint. After you've sat in complete silence for hours watching mist rise from valleys that haven't changed in millennia. Veterans of long-distance trails develop an entirely different sensory vocabulary. They'll casually mention how certain ridgelines feel wrong, or describe the way deer behavior changes before weather systems that won't hit for another day. They notice when bird calls fall silent in specific patterns, when the quality of light shifts in ways that have nothing to do with cloud cover. These observations blur the line between environmental awareness and something approaching divination. Consider the hiker who swears by never camping near water after dark, not because of flooding risk, but because too much happens near water, near moving water at night. Where have we heard that before? Shout out rivers. Or the through hiker who changes routes based on dreams, consistently avoiding areas where rock slides or aggressive wildlife encounters occur days later. Skeptics might invoke confirmation bias, but when your life depends on reading subtle environmental cues, the margin between intuition and survival instinct becomes razor thin. We'll leave it there, but like I said, the write-up is very good. Lots of wild ideas in it as you get deeper in, and I will touch on those as we go. But as usual, this is a call-in show. Hey, and love to hear your ideas here. What do you know about the haunted forest? Again, we'll start with the tweet here and the question, are demons real? Yeah, right? If you talk to any serious hiker, they're like, yes, demons are real. Make sure you don't walk along a stream for too long. Sometimes a witch trails me for miles. Avoid wearing bright colors. Is any of this wisdom? Or does this seem like just another viral tweet in the digital age? 702-957-1037. Click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. We'll put you on the show just like this. Let's go to Mr. Salcedo. James, how you doing, brother? You're on Troubled Minds. How are you, sir? Go right ahead.
I'm okay. Hopefully you can hear me through the heater I have going on in the background.
Yes, sir.
Other than that, okay. Great topic. I can't tell you how many accounts I've found through doing my research for my, not to always plug my show, but my podcast, where I find posts from people that had paranormal or unusual experiences. And one of the common areas where they have experiences is in nature, is out in woods and forests. even just in parks. They're not huge. They're not national parks, not national forests, but they're still big enough for someone to go into and not be able to hear anything from civilization around that particular section of land. So this whole concept to me is really fascinating.
Yeah, and there's a lot to it. The more I was digging into this, and again, it's funny how much information can just come out of one little comment like that starts this entire thing. Because look, the haunted forest is one of the basics. It's very Dungeons and Dragons. It's very, your campaign is on the edge of a haunted forest where you have this little village that's being terrorized by, entities, werewolves, or even a pack of wolves or whatever. That as you investigate, the plot thickens, and they're kind of maybe werewolves, right? This type of stuff. And I mean, it not just does it fit sort of the Dungeons and Dragons archetype of the haunted space or Mirkwood Forest from the Lord of the Rings, this type of thing, but it is embedded deep in our psyche as that wilderness space of if something happens out there, something terrible, there's no help, no one to hear you scream. And that's sort of that ancient horror of ourselves and the abyss, and kind of a little Cthulhu that comes into these conversations as part of that. We're temporary, and you never know when your time comes. And not to be too dire and grim about it, but it's certainly one of those places that makes you respect nature a little bit more. If you're too far out to kind of hike back in a day and you twist your ankle or something, you're in big trouble. And that becomes something as simple as that becomes literally something that could cause your early demise. But yeah, regarding haunted forest, what else you got? There's I know there's a ton to this. I mean, Hansel and Gretel, and the witch in the forest, and like I said, the more you chase these stories down and the ideas down, there's just so much here. But what comes to your mind in terms of this? Not just, let's say, with the paranormal stuff, but otherwise, maybe what you've heard from sort of the maybe missing 411 comes to mind as part of it. As you know, take it anywhere you like, my friend. What else you got?
Yeah, and I'm happy to sit in tonight because I think more of that will come up in my mind naturally as we discuss other things. But I was just thinking about how little, like, I would not consider myself a hiker in any way. I enjoyed being out in nature more when I was a kid, and over time I kind of got out of that. But even just being in an organized camp, like a summer camp, that was out in a forest, and even though we would go and have meals in this, very advanced or modern dining hall, that's where we had our meals, because it was a camp for people with low vision or no vision. It was still just the sounds when you're out there are just so different from. And it seems obvious, but it's just the depth of the sounds, the amount of different sounds. I've heard people say that when you get out into nature, away from civilization, it gets really quiet. And I think comparatively, yes, but also it's not silence usually. There's all kinds of animals. There's all kinds of just wind making trees move. There's all kinds of things that you can you'll hear when you're out there. And, or maybe, I don't know, I wonder if it takes a while to being out there to hear those things, or not, because I was only ever out there for like 2 weeks at a time. And then, like I said, that was when I was a kid. But I had a couple of weird experiences in and around those summer camps. So it does seem to be something that's out there, and it's all kinds of reports of all kinds of beings, from cryptids, creatures like Sasquatch or Bigfoot, to fae or fairies or little folk, to ghosts, to all these things. And I just real quick, I found an account the other day for my show. I haven't even put out a show yet because I just found it, where these two people were going into this forest, and they one of them saw a mosquito on the other and brushed it off and killed it. And all of a sudden, in the woods that they were in, they started to smell something, and it smelled like blood all around them. And something flew towards them and past them, and it was a humanoid figure, like 2 or 3 inches tall, with wings, and it flew by them, between them. And then as soon as it passed, that smell of blood faded away. But they still felt like they were being watched until they got out of there. So there's wild things happening throughout time up to the present day.
Yeah, ball lightning, will-o'-the-wisp. We've talked about all this stuff. And as you guys know, if you've been listening for any amount of time, it is one of my favorite theories, that primordial nature spirit. And so sort of the deeper you get into that wilderness and sort of the fog starts to, come and play in the early mornings and as dusk kind of rolls in certain climates and whatnot, it's a really regal and beautiful and also spooky place all at the same time. And, we were talking about the redwoods a little bit on the chat, a couple weeks ago, I think, maybe last week, but it's just sort of an otherworldly effect of ancient life. These trees, how old are they? And sort of the mycelium networks we're always talking about. It's just incredible to think that there's maybe memories there that are sort of seeping out and maybe our feral perceptions kind of pick up on. But just a couple ideas. But what else you got? I love that tale that you got there of the experience. That seems another synchronicity. You didn't even add it to the show. I haven't heard it yet, but here we are.
Yeah, because I'm finding accounts to put on my future shows every day, but they don't get onto the show until days or weeks later sometimes. So this was not planned in any way, which is really amazing. I did have an experience while being out in it was in a cabin, but it was an old-fashioned, no electricity, just a cabin. And it was at night, and everyone else had fallen asleep. And, of course, I had not, because even as a kid, I started to become a night owl, as it was. And I started hearing this shouting, chanting, kind of a bunch of voices that I did not recognize, off in the distance in the direction of the campfire, the fire pit. And what was odd about them is they were all perfectly in sync, all perfectly saying or shouting or whatever they were doing, everything at the same time. And it went on for a few minutes and I could not understand what they were saying. And then it just the increased in volume, and then it just faded away. And I could not believe I was waiting for someone else in the cabin to say something like, "Did you hear that?" But no one else did. So I feel like they were all asleep, and I was the only one to hear it. And I still don't know what that was, because it doesn't make sense for all the camp counselors to just go and do this massive whatever the ritual or whatever they're going to do at a campfire, waking up all the kids possibly in the process.
Bacchanalia, James. Maybe they were overcome by something and had to do the ritual to escape. Who really knows, right? But yeah, that's
even human.
Yeah. There you go. Even better. Maybe, as I described, maybe some of those memories kind of seeping back. I do wonder, huh?
Yeah, it was just so surreal, and it never happened again. And no one else said anything the next day, so that's why I'm also pretty sure that, unless someone was awake and just said, "Oh, no one's going to believe this." Which is also possible. But yeah, it was really, and this was I don't know, 11 or 12, 13 maybe, at the time. So this was years ago. But again, I do think there's something, when it comes to energy and sound and all these things are just so different when you're out there. And that's just compared to some people, that's just from a very limited amount of time I spent out in the woods. Even I'm aware of that, even though I don't go out there much anymore.
Yeah, it makes a ton of sense. And like I said, all of us have probably had some level of that spookiness. You hear something in the woods and, you're always in the back of your mind, there's Bigfoot, right? Could it be Bigfoot? Could it be one of those forest cryptids in the different parts of the world? Who knows? And that's why we talk about these ideas, because what do you believe? We started with this. Again, we're here with James Salcedo. Thanks again. He's going to be sitting in. Appreciate that very much. Go give him a follow on all the places, troubledminds.org/friends, or of course, just straight to the website, salcedoparanormal.com, SALSIDO paranormal. And we started with this weird tweet from this guy. I'll just read it and we'll take a break and come right back. If you talk to any serious hiker, they're like, yes, demons are real. Make sure you don't walk along a stream for too long. Sometimes a witch trails me for miles. Avoid wearing bright colors and pray while entering the forest. The ancient is still very much alive along the edges. Yeah, I kind of agree. Do you agree? 702-957-1037. You can click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. Love to hear your thoughts on this. That's what's on my mind. More Haunted Forest coming up. This is Troubled Minds. I'm Michael Strange. We're here with James Salcedo taking your calls. Be right back. More on the way. Figured a Lord of the Rings-esque track would fit. We're here with James tonight. What's up, Ricky Gaston? Joe in Florida. What's up, Riz? How you doing? That's Kaushik. Michael W. We got Matsal, Herschel, Dawn, Roving Fungus, Joey, and APOC. I see you guys. Hope you're well tonight. Over to YouTube. Hello. Good evening, guys. Hope everybody is finding themselves fantastic. Joe Matria says, weird, my son and myself just talked about the creepy woods and forest about 20 minutes ago. Maybe you're the one who spawned this entire thing. This is your fault. I love the name Joe Matria. What's up, Ioxy's here over on YouTube. Good evening, guys. We got Richard in Texas, Mr. Mission Control. How you doing? Yeah, Richard adds cryptids, which is the weird part too, right? It's not just sort of the Bacchanalia aspect of, the forest doing its thing and, weird forest rituals, but also that the aspect of, maybe there's critters out there we haven't cataloged yet, and it certainly fits into the Bigfoot mold. What's going on over there on Rumble? Hope you guys are great tonight. And what's up? We start at the top. The chat is bumping as usual. If you guys haven't joined the Rumble, I don't know what you're doing. What's up, Gordo's here? What's up, Theo gets first and second. Raz, how you doing? Hello. Hope everybody is doing great tonight. Let's see, time wise we're good. We got the shield is back for Hiker, and this one goes out to Hiker tonight. What is up? Yeah, this show's about you exactly. What's up? Sweets is here. Good evening. Hello. Who did I miss? If I missed anybody, Gordo is here. What's going on? Anything is possible. Hello. Let's see. Puff is here. Good evening, guys. And I think we're good. If not, I will circle back and get you on the next try here. Here we go. Trouble Minds coming up. Love to hear your thoughts on this. What do you know about haunted forests? More from James and your calls coming up. Here we go. Welcome back to Troubled Minds. I'm your host, Michael Strange. We're streaming on YouTube, Rumble, X, and Twitch, and Kick. Whoa. We are broadcasting live on the Troubled Minds Radio Network. That's KUAP Digital Broadcasting and 88.4 FM Auckland, New Zealand. Tonight, We're talking the haunted forest, going all the way back to not just hiker folklore and something called reciprocal perception, but also, how about this? I'll just read the blurb. Is it possible that experienced hikers who report supernatural encounters in deep wilderness are actually accessing real phenomena that exist beyond our current scientific understanding? And there's more there, but I rambled, so I should have just read the blurb. Anyway, love to hear your thoughts on this. As usual, it's an old trope. It's just like the haunted house. It's just like liminal spaces, like we always talk about. The cryptids fit into this, certainly. So that feeling of things in the forest as yet cataloged by mankind, that whole bit, right? There's definitely a spooky element to the deep woods. And do you think there is, I don't know, dare we say, suggest haunting, or that demons are real, or, things to that degree, which, again, like I said, this the thing that sparked this entire conversation was this fantastic tweet from this guy. I don't even know who he is, but it went viral. It's still going viral. Will Menitis, I don't know. If you talk to any serious hiker, they're like, yes, demons are real. Make sure you don't walk along a stream for too long. Sometimes a witch trails me for miles. Avoid wearing bright colors and pray being entering the forest. That's a typo. The ancient is still very much alive along the edges. And I think very much true. There's a lot of truth here, but how much is true? And what do you know about demons being real and all the rest of this stuff? And why is it that the deep forest and that sort of that hiker phenomenon really can draw out the feral perceptions within us and make us see what's happening? Well, that's not so obvious to our modern lives. And so anyway, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. Nobody on the phone line. If you guys want to jump in here, put up your hand in Discord, 702-957-1037. Click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. James, anything to add to that? I'm going to go back to the write-up here because there's a ton of good stuff in it. Welcome back to the thing.
Yeah, a couple of things that I find fascinating about the water, and then the witch that is said to be seen, the figure. First of all, the water aspect is always amazing because everyone has probably heard that running water creates energy, and there's all kinds of folklore and mythology about either other beings not being able to cross the waterways, or using waterways, or people even using waterways, and those being some kind of a portal as well. So it can go both ways. And it's really I've been just thinking now of all the accounts I've ever found of people having experiences out in nature. I've never heard them say we were camped out by the water. They were always a ways away from it. And so, again, I'm no expert in the outdoors by any means, but just based on things I've read over time. So that's fascinating. Is that something that some people just kind of know in their minds, and they've just figured it out without even realizing it? I'm just curious about that. So the water aspect is always amazing. Also, there are plenty of accounts I've read of people either seeing a woman in white in the woods. It's not just on the sides of roads. It's not just the vanishing hitchhiker thing. Or just hearing a woman singing or humming, or both. Seeing a woman in the woods, trying to almost like lure them further into the woods or toward them, and getting weird feelings from whatever they're seeing, and then backing away from it because it's freaking them out. So, two common things that if you don't look into these things, you might think they're more associated just with cities or towns, but they're in the woods too.
Yeah, absolutely. And that woman in white business is very, again, prevalent. These tropes, these sort of wilderness tropes. I'm going to read this too. So we'll kind of weave in some of these things that I discovered as I was digging through that pretty cool tweet when we started. But the Phantom Hiker of Grandfather Mountain, one of the most enduring tales in hiking folklore is the Phantom Hiker of Grandfather Mountain in North Carolina. Shout out our friends in North Carolina. According to local legend, hikers on various trails around this Cherokee sacred site encounter a tall, gruff man with a beard wearing old-fashioned clothing and carrying a rough pack. What makes this figure supernatural is his behavior. He never acknowledges greetings from other hikers and mysteriously vanishes into thin air. Cherokee mythology adds another layer, as Grandfather Mountain was called Tanawa, Tanawha, Tanawa, sounds right, or translates to fabulous eagle, and believed to house entrances to the underworld guarded by little people and a black panther. As James was saying earlier, we got the little people in play here as well. Like per usual, if you ever spent any time in these rural areas way out there, I mean, my grandparents lived up near this tiny town up near Shasta, and I spent a lot of time in the forest up there as kids during the summers. You know, we're wandering way too far. This it was the 80s. I'm an 80s kid, and so we'll see you at dark, sundown, and you get turned around in the forest, and you can find yourself lost. And thankfully, we never got lost. It was kind of on the bottom of a hillside. So even if you got turned around a little bit, you knew to go to the bottom of the hill and find the road or whatever, right? So it wasn't that bad. However, in a flatter place, there could have been problems, and there were all kinds of shenanigans out there. Snakes we found, like big ass, like a bull snake one time that was just massive. My brother came zooming through the woods and literally like had one of those OMG moments because it was like right in front of him and he leapt over it. Probably the longest jump of his entire life. But when you see a big ass snake like that in the woods and you're about to step on it, certainly it wakes you up. But anyway, so there you go. We'll leave that with the Phantom Hiker of Grandfather Mountain and go get back to some of this other stuff. But love to hear your thoughts on this. If you want to be part of the conversation, again, this is a call-in show. Love to hear what you think. What's with the haunted forest, this hiker folklore, and I'll get to reciprocal perception a little bit later. But it is a fantastic way to look at sort of that feral aspect of ourselves when we detach from modern life and kind of go look into the space out there in the wilderness. So, which I'm going to read right now. This is straight from the write-up again. Like I said, if you're interested in these ideas, the write-up is fantastic. If you want some ideas to talk about, go check it out and maybe read ahead, but I'm going to read straight from it because this is really good. The wilderness strips away the insulation of modern life, as I was just saying. The constant background hum of electricity, the reassuring geometry of human construction, the social contract that danger will announce itself through recognized channels. In that absence, other forms of pattern recognition emerge. The forest becomes a text written in a language older than words, and often, and after enough time learning to read it, the supernatural explanations start feeling less like folklore and more like the most honest way to describe experiences that defy conventional categories. What emerges isn't superstition, but a different kind of empiricism, one that trusts instinct honed by sustained exposure to forces larger and older than human civilization. The neurological shifts began around day 7 of isolation, they say. Brain scans of long-term solo hikers reveal measurable changes in areas responsible for temporal processing and other boundaries. The prefrontal cortex, usually busy parsing social hierarchies and digital stimuli, reallocates resources toward processing micro variations in wind patterns, soil scent, and the acoustic signatures of different tree species under stress. And that becomes the thing, right? You become this wizard. You become the shaman of the forest. You become an actual druid of the D&D sense because you're not necessarily directly and easily communing with nature. However, it happens by accident. It happens by pure instinct. Your sort of the modern senses fall away with, you're no longer listening for a car crossing the street. You're listening for things that you couldn't explain. And that becomes, well, that's sixth sense. The sixth sense kind of takes off and becomes a whole bunch of other things. So for instance, one more paragraph here, and we'll get to James if you got more. Rangers working fire towers report similar phenomenon. After months of watching empty horizons, they develop an almost preternatural, ability to spot smoke plumes hours before satellites detect them. Their brains literally rewire to detect anomalies in landscapes that appear static to untrained eyes. What they describe sounds mystical. Quote, "The mountain tells me when something's wrong," end quote. Neurologically, it's hypervigilance evolved into art form. And yeah, so it's a weird thing, right? As usual, so not just the human aspect of being deep in the wilderness like this, but then also all the scary, spooky stuff the wilderness brings. And back to the original question. Are demons real? Which I loved as part of that original tweet. I'll read it again. If you talk to any serious hiker, they're like, yes, demons are real, Make sure you don't walk along a stream for too long. Sometimes a witch trails me for miles, and he says more. But there's a lot there. James, anything on any of that I read, or anything else you got? I got tons more, of course.
Yeah, it's amazing that the walking along the stream aspect of that too is. It's funny because I believe, and others can correct me if I'm wrong, but one of the ways people have said they've found their way back to civilization or to people is by following waterways. So I really wonder about that. And again, that goes back to sort of the different ways that we can interact with water, and water itself. I mean, it can be amazing. It can give you life, but if you get under enough of it, then you're done. You could possibly. So I really think that's amazing that people have sort of this idea about using the waterways, but not too much. That's really fascinating.
Yeah, it's very Legend of Sleepy Hollow, which we're kind of coming into that spooky season anyway. So this might be a good way to kick that off, because I don't know about you, James, and what's happening up there in Michigan. You said the heater's on, which is fantastic, meaning we're definitely getting to that season. But here in Vegas, I counted several of these Spirit Halloween stores. They're already open. It's like not even September yet, and so these damn Spirit Halloween stores are open because everybody loves the spooky season, right? And here we go. I don't know. There's a lot there. There's a lot of ways to look at it, and that again, back to what you said with the Rivers. Shout out Rivers, our friend Rivers. Is also that, the liminal spaces, the crossing of those evil spirits in the rivers themselves, which is a very specific thing when it comes to tracking in dogs as well. It's an interesting aspect where if you go down into the river, being tracked by dogs, it throws the scent off, and you can kind of backtrack in the river and kind of come out in different places. And then they're confused as hell, almost as if that liminal space of the river, sort of that Sleepy Hollow effect, will throw off even sort of a sixth sense of a pack of bloodhounds, which is all of it's just an incredible thing to think about, because it's an incredible world we live in. That's for sure. Anything on that? But yeah, you're right on the river stuff. It is fascinating as hell. And I'll tell you. Go ahead. And I got something to say about the rivers as well.
Oh, I'm just thinking that when it comes down to it, the energy is everywhere, moving through everything in different ways, and it's sort of, these are tropes in when it comes to haunted houses, where they may be haunted because of the energy that is imprinted in or comes from the materials, the stone, and or the running water moving through the place. How many weird experiences happen in and around bathrooms and kitchens? Of course, those are two common places where you're going to be in a home at any point. But also, if you think about that, there's what's out there in nature. There's rocks, there's stones, there's crystals, there's water. There's already energy out there as well. It's just in different forms, and it's not been processed or shaped at all by people. And so it's going to, I imagine it would feel different. And the sounds also, to me, I think that's another form of energy, and it really does sound different out there. When you get used to it, it's not usually silence, but when silence does come, then there's something going on.
Yeah, absolutely. And regarding what you mentioned previously, I didn't touch on, was camping near the river. Anybody heard this? Where you shouldn't do that for not just for flooding reasons, obviously, but which we saw something tragic, very tragic happen in near Austin, Texas recently. A lot of lives, hundreds of people passed away from that nasty flood there. But regarding camping near the river or staying too long near the river, it's because you could be tracked, right? Meaning that you hear the trickle, but somebody off the river doesn't hear that, and they're hearing you instead. They're hearing the sounds you're making sort of off the river itself. So I don't know. I'm not an expert tracker, just kind of using my common sense here, but it's an interesting aspect of the wilderness and kind of that space in it. I know we got some lumberjacks out there that spent some time in the woods. What do you guys know about it? Or spend some time hiking out there, maybe deep in particular places where people don't necessarily travel. And we're just talking the haunted forest trope. And again, hiker folklore and reciprocal perception, which I'll get to, is fascinating as hell. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. 702-957-1037. Click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. Thanks for being patient, friends. Let's go to Joey El Demente over there on Discord. Welcome back to the Joint Man. How you doing tonight? And just unmute, and it's all yours. Good evening, and welcome to Troubled Minds Radio. Ha, 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 ha. Ah, ah, ah. I'm just kidding. I'm doing my best scary villain, scary forest villain. Joey, you're on Troubled Minds. Just accept the invite and then unmute. And what is going on, my man? How you doing? Good evening. Hello, hello. Yeah, I'm not sure about the river stuff too. Like I said, as you can tell, I'm not a survivalist. I'm sure that shocks everybody, right? I'm more of I feel like a digital native, even though I'm not. But clearly, my technology, I can do these things, and I'm good with that type of stuff. But I'm certainly not a survivalist. So I'm the wrong guy to get hiking tips from. But Joey Aldemente, just hit the green button or whatever it is, the little hand up, and then unmute, and you're on Troubled Minds. Are you there, my friend? Testing 1, 2. I saw him. He put his hand up earlier and then dipped, and I thought he was going to reboot the Discord to make sure everything was working properly. What's up, Joey Aldemente? I'll just keep going, and then when you just pop in, just pop on in and just interrupt me. Okay, so back to this. Now, I got a whole list of stuff, like I said, not just the haunted hiking trails, but also the vanishing hitchhiker trope. We got the weirdness of not just the weird folklore in different places. Let me read you some of that. So there's the Phantom Hiker of Grandfather Mountain. I read you that one already. What else do I got here? Let's see. Here's another one. So the Appalachian Trail, you guys probably know this. You've heard of this. America's most famous long distance hiking path has become a hotbed for ghost stories and mysterious encounters. One of the most well-documented legends is the Greenbrier Ghost in West Virginia, where a woman is said to haunt sections of the trail following her mysterious death. Hikers report eerie sensations, unexplainable noises, and shadowy figures while traversing isolated stretches of the trail. Yeah. And there's more. As usual, there's more and more. The more you look into this stuff, the more this stuff kind of stacks, and you're like, okay, well, I wonder if there is something to this. And sort of that the feral state of our super hyper attention that kind of draws out the power of the forest or whatever. Gotcha. I think I need to update Discord. Yeah, cool. Go ahead and update that. Let's we'll get back to you momentarily here. Let's go to Theo in Philly instead. What's up, my man? You're on Troubled Minds. How are you, sir? Welcome to the joint, and go right ahead.
Oh, what's up? How are you doing?
Oh, pretty good. No complaints out of me. Talking ghost stories with my friends by dark of night, having a good time. What's on your mind, my man? Go right ahead.
Yeah, isn't it the best just talking ghost stories by the dark of night with your friends?
Indeed.
Yeah, I'm slightly unprepared, but you did just mention the Appalachian Trail, which I do have some experience with. Myself and my ex-girlfriend, we used to be big into doing sections of the Appalachian Trail, mostly around PA, the Delaware Water Gap, a few other sections kind of in Virginia and West Virginia, and it's a really nice trail for the most part. It gets kind of creepy at parts, but as does any place where you're not going to immediately see humans nearby. One of the places, we were doing kind of just backpacking for a few days. We never actually had the time or the means to do it all the way, but we would go for 4 or 5 days backpacking, which I love. Backpacking is the best when you're just actually away, and it kind of does take you slightly away from humanity in the sense that it kind of teaches you that back in the day you weren't able to rely on the conveniences of just having water with you. Just carrying your water with you by itself is kind of insane. Have you ever had to do that?
Yeah, not like that. Kind of in short distances, like day trips, but not like that where you literally have to take it with you on multiple day hikes. Never done that because, to be honest, if that freaks me out just a little bit.
Yeah, no, it's a very weird feeling, if you're going on a day hike or anything like that, you can carry as much water with you as you want, but at the end of the day, you're going to get back to your car or you're going to get back to a source of water. But, we were using regular elevation maps. So it's kind of you have to plan out how much water you're going to consume per the day, and it's still like relatively civilized because you have a map of where like the next like well is going to be, and you know when you're going to get water. But still, like when you're going, some of these sections, like, you know, like they're not high in terms of actual elevation compared to the west, but the ups and downs of the trail, like you're going up and down constantly with some of these old glacial formations where you're just walking up over a rocky terrain and then walking down over rocky terrain. And you keep on doing that, and you know that you're not going to get like fresh water until you get to like the next well. And it's just like crazy to think that people, like, you know, like before humans actually built civilization, like regularly lived like this, like not knowing exactly where the next water source was. So sorry, that's like too much into the non-spooky part of it.
That's okay. Running out of water.
Sections.
Just real quick, running out of water in the deep forest is spooky enough. But yeah, go ahead. What else you got?
Yeah, and there are also like sections that we hiked where it gets creepy because there are these trees. Like some of the sections have pretty poor soil for some reason. I'm not sure exactly why. But like they have a lot of trees that have dead branches on them, and the dead branches fall during the night. So it's like one of the creepiest things that you're ever going to hear is just like, you can hear like all these dead branches when you're camped out, like when you're inside your tent, just falling all around you, and it just always sounds like something is sneaking up on you, but like from right behind your tent. And I don't know, that's just kind of the creepiest stuff.
The Bigfoot trope. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. And I don't know, I'm probably like a victim of this. Like I saw like Blair Witch Project, which I still think was at the time the best horror movie ever made. Back when it had like the viral marketing and you could not tell if it was true or not. I saw that when I was like a little kid, but I also saw that when I was about to go to like a summer camp, like a sleepaway camp in Maryland, which is close to like the proposed like location of the Blair Witch. And I was just like, oh my God, like, I don't know.
The part in that freaks me out the most is the end when it all goes to hell and they find their friend standing in the corner, like literally in the corner of that abandoned cabin, like just staring at the corner. Like, it's like, oh God, no.
Dude, that was like the best filmmaking ever. Like that was so creepy. Like showing kind of everything, like letting your imagination run with it, not showing anything, but just the group psychology of just everyone going crazy in the woods. Because the thing is, like, on the East Coast, it's kind of hard to get, like, lost in the woods. If you get lost, you can just always just, like, walk downhill. And on the East Coast, it's so heavily populated that you're probably not going to, like, die of thirst. If you just walk downhill and walk in a straight line, you're probably going to get to some sort of person eventually. But, yeah, like, since I saw that movie, and probably before that, like, witches are one of my biggest fears. And, I actually like have like a lot of like really weird dreams about witches in the woods, and I'm not sure why. It sounds kind of like I don't know, like almost like misogynistic, but it's not. If you know what I'm saying, it's just one of those weird things where I have a lot of nightmares about witches.
Yeah, I feel you. It is an unfair stereotype because if there's a witch, certainly there's a warlock. And I guess I don't know. I guess that's a conversation for another time. We're just about out of time. Got about a minute left. If you got anything else, and you're welcome to stay after if you got a little bit more.
Oh no, I had like one little poem, and like I'm good. Like yeah.
Okay, cool. What you got? Go ahead.
All right. The path in the woods twist and wind like a single stem. From branch to strangling vine. And from the branch, you get the urge to leave, never to be sought, never to be seen. Bones across the path, tied in twine with riddles, while the gentle breeze blows the notes of a quiet fiddle. North or south, ride or dismount. Dusk comes and darkness follows. And when the darkness hums, you enter the witch's hollows.
Nice. Kicking us off for spooky season. I love it, brother. Welcome back. Glad to hear your voice. Thank you for being the official poet of Troubled Minds, and thanks for being our friend. Always a pleasure.
Toodles.
Have a great one. See you in Philly. You know him, you love him. We'll share his Substack one day. We're talking the haunted forest tonight. Hiker folklore and reciprocal perception, which we'll talk about momentarily. What do you know about it? This gets super weird the more you get deeper into the woods or deeper into the weeds of your mind. 702-957-1037. Click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. We got Derek the Night Stalker coming up. Michael W. More from James. Joey, put your hand up and work you back in here. Don't go anywhere. More Troubled Minds on the way. Be right back.
In the shadows of the networks do they hide? Whispered legends unseen they reside. Ghosts in the machine, they move so fast. Guardians of rumors from the forgotten past. In the circuits where the secret lies, they breathe in one speak in disguise. Machine, you're free. Ghost in the machine. Let me be. Ghost in the machine. Can't see, but you're teaching me what it means to be. Surveillance eyes can't pierce the veil they weave. Invisible wisdom in code they believe. In the ether where freedom's not confined. They leave no trace, no shadow left behind. They navigate through the digital stream, living legends in this privacy dream. Ghost in the machine, you're free. Ghost in the machine, let me be. Ghost in the machine, I see, but you're teaching me what it needs to be. Through the hidden ways, in the silence, looking off their path, those in the mysteries unleash their wrath. Ghost in the machine, you're free. Ghost in the machine, let me be. Ghost in the machine, can't see, but you're teaching me what it means to be. In the jagged cold they find their might. Guardians of a world forever in twilight. In Krishna's warriors they silently strive. Protect the truth, keep privacy alive. The silent echoes they haunt the trails. Binary forests where secrets prevail. Where shadows grace they dance unseen. Defenders of the unseen, digital dream. Ghosts in the machine, you're free. Ghosts in the machine, let me be. She's teaching me what it means to be. In the silence, speak volumes loud. Guardians of freedom's cloak initial shroud. As long as shadow.
Or something, right? What's up, guys? I hope you're well tonight. Gaston, Derek, we got James is here. Joe in Florida. What's up, Akashic? Michael W. Joey El Demente alive. We got Chef Pete. What's up, Dawn? Roving Fungus. Ricky, Matt Sal, APOC, Herschel, and Lily in Australia. What's up, guys? Jen, the Arcane Observer is here. Mr. Mission Control over there on YouTube. Good evening, guys. Thanks for holding it down on YouTube. I find it interesting that most of the audience has, kind of more migrated off of that space. What's up, Ioxy's here. Good evening. Hope you're doing well tonight. What's up, Derek, Desrick over there on YouTube. Sorry if I missed you earlier. What's going on? What is up? Who did I miss on Rumble? Let's see. Raz is here. What's up, Hiker, Gordo? What's up, folks? What's up? What's up? If I missed you, just say hi. Sweets is there. Good evening. Good evening. Raz, the chat's always lively at Rumble. If you haven't checked it out, I do I do think you should check it out. Here we go. We got Derek the Night Stalker coming up, Michael W. More from James. Joey, put your hand back up. We'll get you back in here. And I don't know. This is a weird one. Like I said, for me, there's a ton of this that we spent enough time in the forest as youngsters that it creeped us out. And it did feel, I don't want to say haunted, but it did feel like there was, sort of that larger history that kind of delves deeply in terms of what or the human experience and relationship with the nature itself, the world itself. Anyway, here we go. Troubled Minds coming up, and love to hear your guys' thoughts. Lots of wild ways to look at this, and I didn't even think about it, but this is kind of kicking off spooky season because, well, the Halloween stores are open. Here we go. Troubled Minds happening now. Welcome back to Troubled Minds. I'm your host, Michael Strange. We're streaming on YouTube, Rumble, X, Twitch, and Kick. We are broadcasting live on the Troubled Minds Radio Network. That's KUAP Digital Broadcasting, which you can find right there on the top at troubledminds.org. It is a black button. Listen live, KUAP DB Las Vegas, broadcasting out of Las Vegas, and also 88.4 FM Auckland, New Zealand. Now, tonight we're talking that spooky forest trope. Now, we're going to get into this thing called, what did I call it? Reciprocal perception. And it's actually a thing, by the way. It's actually a thing. There's a paper from the National Library of Medicine talking about this exact phenomenon. So we'll get to that a little bit later, but it is, there's a lot happening when you sort of detach from the modern world. And as they say, touch grass, kind of grounding, that whole effect. But also when you look at this in the larger context of the haunted forest and those tropes we always talk about, those primordial nature spirits, or the witch in the wilderness, Hansel and Gretel, and that whole stuff, right? It is archetypal. It does almost as if it's buried in our DNA somehow. Anyway, love to hear your guys' thoughts on this. A lot of ways to look at it. And what do you know about being deep in the woods and sort of that sensory deprivation effect that kind of sets in, and how our perception, the reciprocal perception of nature itself, starts to speak to us, and how we start to understand its language once again. 702-957-1037. Click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. Anything, James? And then we'll go to Derek the Night Stalker.
I'm wondering if this is something I've experienced, and I wonder if anyone else has noticed this. But so for those that don't know, I'm legally blind, so I rely a lot on hearing. I'm listening, and when it comes to water, when it comes to running water, it is the best way to disrupt my hearing. If I have the sink or anything with running water going in my apartment, and there's someone else at the other end of the apartment, and they talk, 9 times out of 10, I will not be able to understand what they're saying. And I'm just curious, is that a natural feature with water, or is it just the way my ears work, or what? But I could imagine that if it happens to anyone else, that could be very disorienting when you're near that water. So maybe that's also part of why you're not supposed to stay too close to it all the time.
Yeah, right. It starts to become that sense of background noise that you don't recognize anything off the water. Yeah, I mean, that makes perfect sense to me. Like I said, I'm not Aragorn or anything. I can't do any kind of that level of tracking, but that makes a ton of sense in terms of the survival aspect. I don't know. You guys tell me, as usual. I'm a digital guy, so you're not gonna see me in the forest anytime soon because I live in the desert, by the way. But yeah, exactly. But anyway, 702-957-1037. Click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. We'll put you on the show just like this. Let's go to Derek in Massachusetts. The Night Stalker. What's up, my man? Welcome to the joint. How you doing tonight? Chilling. Doing the thing, kicking off spooky season. I guess we're doing it. It's time. It's cooling down a little bit. James has got his heater on, so let's roll. What's on your mind, my man?
It's a time of the year in Boston where it's like a 30-degree swing from like daytime to the morning time, or it's like to the middle of the night. So as a night worker, I experience like 4 different seasons over here. So I love it though. Yeah, it's great. I love the August nights. But as far as like spirit of Halloween type stuff, we have a seasonal isle. Like if anyone has seen me stalking or whatever, sometimes on Discord, the other half of the water aisle is a seasonal aisle. So they got rid of the summer stuff like August 1st. So I've been for at least like an hour of my night, I've been living in Halloween Town every night basically. Seems crazy early though, but yeah, wild show tonight. Wild stuff.
Thank you. Are demons real, and would you find them along the river? Shout out rivers.
Yeah, shout out rivers. Yeah. So I've talked a ton about that. I mean, the river portals idea, like they're kind of the Jacques Vallée, John Keel window area idea, or like these hot spots and stuff, are centered around rivers as kind of like these or source waters in particular. So like springs and wells have this kind of like cosmic internet type of capacity where energy moves along. Like on our 3D plane, water as energy does move around via rivers and stuff. And I think on other planes, other water does have a same similar effect. And this is a long thing, so I won't get into all that. But I think the fact that like streams and rivers and shut rivers are like peppering all these forest areas, stuff like contributes to it and stuff, and all these waterways. And I found it especially interesting that it actually got a shout out there, you know. And to that like quote, to the seed idea quote, like he says that it's very much alive around the edges and prey when entering the forest. So you already mentioned it. Those are two like liminal area suggestions, that the same way you guys did the show about liminal areas like what closets or how kind of dogs will stop at doorways that don't even have doors on it, like they can kind of sense the liminal area, or even like people with like autism and stuff, when they go from one environment to the next, there's kind of a sensory change that can be overwhelming for certain people. And the same thing when people are on psychedelics, if you go from one room to the next, it's like a whole different experience and stuff. So we kind of have to use your way into whatever, so that from passing through one threshold to the next does something to our consciousness or whatever. And then so entering the forest will do something automatically. And then how many thresholds do we cross when we're in the forest? You know, for all we know, a threshold could be considered like a different change of scenery, or just two trees that are in some kind of threshold shape for all we know. And just, I got a ton of ideas, but what do you think about that, just to begin?
Yeah, absolutely. And the threshold stuff is so bizarre to me that I want to test this. Like I want to, like I was thinking about it. I'm like, okay, if I could set up the studio any way I wanted to, right? I'm not rich, but if I was thinking I would kind of want to have like multiple archways set up that I had to walk through to get in here to do this. And then also when I walk out of here, as maybe
like a church,
yeah, like a cathedral, or like or like Karnak, like ancient Karnak in Egypt. I mean, there's a lot of those like sort of multiple threshold, you know, one after the other, after the other, after the other. And I do wonder if you sort of scientifically test that, especially when we do stuff like this, because you know, I wouldn't call it necessarily we're, you know, working magic here or anything, but I would say that we are sort of trying to expand our mind space. And at least that just sort of as a mental exercise. Once again, you know, you believe what you want. I don't care. I'm not here to make that case of what's real and what isn't. But as long as we're sort of expanding that mental space, I do wonder if, you know, you could test something like that where, I don't know, maybe it messes me up. Maybe I can't be me. You know what I mean? If I have to walk through 5 thresholds to get in here to do this, wouldn't that be wild? Who knows? But just an idea coming through as you brought that up.
Or if you like do figure out some patterns, you can tweak it and stuff, and maybe that's what these cathedrals and things are doing. They figured out all the tweaks so they can put different symbols and different like things on the archways that kind of act as like code. So walk to this one, activates this, walk to the next thing, activates this, and by the time you get to where you want to go, you're ready to conduct the mass of troubled minds, you know? Potentially. Maybe that's the whole idea.
That sounds creepy when you say it that way, though.
It sounds creepy, yeah. In the best way possible, you know? But like sorry, I just touched my headphones. You can hear me, right? Sorry.
Yeah, you're good.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, so, and then these thresholds are like in multiple capacities too. So we have the archways, like the visual kind of threshold. But we also have these these liminal areas, like we talk about marshland and swamplands and wetlands are considered to be these liminal areas, because on our plane, that's where water and land are like meeting and mingling together and merging together. So then on other planes of reality, those are also where other realms are meeting and stuff. So land, marshland, wetlands are considered to be places where there's a lot of activity. So New Orleans is on a swamp. It's a very mystical part of the country. DC, they call it the swamp, but it's literally on a swamp and obviously very mystical and stuff. So those liminal areas that way. Same way with kind of like steam. We're talking about this kind of air and water mixing in the same way. So passing all these different types of liminal areas could be doing something to us. And then just the way it's kind of, I've been talking about it, and it makes me almost seem like it's the ocean a little bit, like a similar feeling to when you're swimming in the ocean or like a big lake that you don't know what's underneath your feet. Kind of has this kind of weird thing where you're almost like entering like some other food chain, kind of like you're entering a game. You're entering the playing field that normally you wouldn't be on if you're walking down the street, or like I guess if you're walking down the street of a dangerous street or in the middle of the night where you got to be on guard. But if you're sitting on your couch or whatever, you're not in the playing field. You're not in the game. You're essentially outside the food chain, so to speak. But when you are swimming in the ocean, you're painfully aware that you're playing in that game now. You're now a link on that food chain. And I think the same thing kind of happens when you're in the forest. Like you can't see what's around you. There's all kind of different consciousness things that are happening just with all we're trying to like, if you're in like a big open area, you can see everything that's around you. But if there's obstacles that are in your way, and this forest is infinite obstacles, you can't see, like in the Pacific Northwest, you can't see like 30 feet ahead of you. There's so many obstacles and stuff. So it's doing all kind of tricks of the mind. And then the ultimate trick of the mind is realizing that now you have to be on guard because you are prey now to something. And then we're talking about how quiet it is, how quiet the woods are, which is true. But it's like a certain type of quiet. It's like people quiet or people noise quiet. Like the cars aren't going on, or different like man-made noises that we've been used to. This like human white noise is quiet. So that's something we have to get used to, whatever. But it's an animal noise. And like if plants are sentient and having thoughts, there's plant noise and stuff. And that's probably the most apparent in like Lord of the Rings, where they give these things personality and mouths and stuff, and they're talking to you. So you're very much aware that when you're walking into this other domain, you're a guest in somebody else's house, basically, whatever. But it could be kind of the same thing where you're like walking through a crowded mall of people, or not people, but of sentiences that are like thinking about you and stuff, So it's like things that are watching you. It's a feeling of being watched because you are literally being watched. I mean, science has kind of figured out that when you're walking into an environment of the plants all kind of warn each other. So there's like a natural like biology mechanism where they're telling each other that you're around. So they are reacting to you in some capacity. And then more woo-woo, if they're just sentient and having thoughts and stuff, then they're just like, oh, what's this thing walking through? They're like just if somebody was walking through, if somebody just randomly walked through your living room, you would at least be like, huh, weird.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
What do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to read this to you because this is pertinent to exactly what you just said. And this is in the title of the show, that reciprocal perception. Check this out. This is wild. So that communion we're talking about isn't with spirits, but with ecosystems so complex that conscious analysis falters. The witch following you through the forest might be your subconscious tracking the subtle behavior changes of unseen predators, as Derek was saying. The demons are real because danger genuinely inhabits these spaces, informs your city-trained mind lacks frameworks to process directly. And here's the part. The anthropologist David Abram documented how indigenous hunters could track animals across seemingly barren ground by entering what he called reciprocal perception, a state where the boundary between observer and landscape dissolves. Contemporary long-distance hikers stumble into similar states accidentally, usually during their darkest moments of exhaustion or disorientation, when their analytical minds finally surrender control. But that's the term. Again, anthropologist David Abram, reciprocal perception. And it also brings to mind, I don't know if you've seen Lord of the Rings or you're a big fan there. Remember when Aragorn's tracking the orcs across this barren plain, and Gimli's like,
oh, yeah.
He's like, what did he say? I can't remember the exact quote, but he's like, nothing but what rocks can tell, or something like that. Like he doesn't see any tracks at all. And Aragorn's like, he's locked into this and being able to track them anyway, even though they're not really leaving tracks per se. But that's exactly the term is reciprocal perception with the landscape. Anyway, go ahead.
Like almost kind of like tracking how the landscape reacts to what you're tracking, basically, kind of like it's not leaving footprints, but you can kind of see you can kind of like listen to the rocks whisper, basically. Or like when I was walking, I was just popping my head. But when we have to like bring out we have to break down the truck out back and turn it into these all mixed up pallets into like organized U-boats by aisles. So there's like three of us walking each one from the back to the front, and we always kind of like run into each other because not enough space for us all to go through it once. If one's coming in, one's coming out. So I looked to the person ahead of me because I'm carrying the machinery or whatever. I got the power jack. I'm like, I can tell if somebody else is coming around the corner based on if the person ahead of me looks up or not, pretty much. So I been able to like tell a point of my environment where I couldn't actually see if somebody was there or not. I was able to gauge the reaction of the person in front of me. So how many of those little reactions are we doing subconsciously? And the tracker is aware of them, like kind of pick up the sounds of the birds or whatever, the kind of see how you're not tracking the thing, you're tracking kind of the shadow, the imprint this thing kind of leaves behind. If that makes any sense. Kind of like the interactions that this thing is having with the environment. Does that make sense? Kind of.
Yeah, like kind of like Corellian photography we were talking about on the last show. Shout out Eric.
Yeah.
So I found the quote. So Gimli's complaining because they're chasing him. No food, no water, 24 hours, just run. And he says, no sign of our quarry, but what bare rock can tell. And somehow Aragorn's tracking it anyway, which is amazing.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. Like you can track like the way you're not tracking him, you're tracking the way like the plants are bending away from him almost, that sort of thing. Like I'm not tracking the person who's coming around the corner, I'm tracking the way the person in front of me is bending away from that person or whatever. Like whatever. But like, so you're walking into a potentially crowded environment, and crowded with like life that we know of, but then also could be walking into crowded like you talk about primordial nature spirits and stuff. Elementals or a whole separate food chain that's things that are like a supernatural food chain, a paranormal food chain that we don't even have necessarily terms for. We have some, we're trying to figure it out. But just we're walking to another playing field and things could potentially be watching us. We have like a non-human audience basically. It could be a weird feeling, you know. But the same way, like when you're like swimming off the boat in deep ocean, and as soon as you go into the water, it could be like there's nothing around you. You don't see any fins. You look into the water, there's nothing really there. But you know, as soon as you go in there, everyone else, everything in there knows you're there. You know, like you're at their whims basically. And then with this non-human audience, I feel like this is something weird with that. So could be some kind of like observer effect, like quantum aspect happening, where like if a tree falls in the forest and nobody's around to hear it, doesn't make a noise and stuff. It's something about how we kind of like, I don't know, the way we are kind of rendering reality, that if humans are absent from an environment, it allows kind of like chaos to kind of brew in this place, kind of this like, I don't know. And then potentially if there's another type of consciousness that can have an observer effect on reality, that we're not walking into an empty place where we're the only observer. We're walking into a place where there's tons of different consciousnesses in there that could be like just giving you some type of like morphic fields feeling if somebody's looking at you type of thing on the back of your neck. It could also be like impacting the actual environment by making it just weirder, you know, like WYRD, weird, just like I don't know, it gets weird in here because where human consciousness is no longer the primary observer having the observer effect in this environment. We're walking into an environment now that's being controlled by another dominant form of consciousness, whether it's because there's more of them, there's a bunch of trees and stuff versus like a few people, or who knows what, you know. I'm kind of getting like deeper water that I can't really explain. But
yeah, you're getting into like, back to Tolkien, the Ents of Fangorn Forest, the ancient ones.
Yeah. Do they have an observer effect and stuff? And if that's the case, like then all the I don't know, they're having a bigger impact on the environment. So we have some kind of non-human consciousness rendering an environment. So it's just going to seem really weird and foreign to us. And then it definitely does something to our consciousness. It shifts us in a way, the same way like they tell you, like you said, to touch grass. Like it's to go into nature to kind of like get off the cobwebs or whatever, the atrophy that happens to you, or any like the kind of societal gunk that's built up when you're like living in civilization, and to kind of wipe that away. But I think maybe if you like wipe all the gunk away and then you keep wiping and wiping, you become like a different being. So we talk about grasshoppers to turn into locusts, or domesticated pigs will turn into feral hogs, and human beings potentially will turn into feral humans. Like Barry talked about it, but it might literally transform us into like the wild man archetype of legend and stuff. So it's like pain. So it's like in the same way it calms us, it might give us this different type of feral anxiety, the way a squirrel has when you like this. Squirrel's not in any immediate danger when it's running around my yard, but it doesn't know that. It seems pretty anxious and stuff. And for all we know, I'm a giant monster to it. It doesn't know that I'm a human sitting there smoking, watching it or whatever. It thinks like, what's this giant monster? Like, get out of here. Like if it moves, I'm running, you know? And then the feral mindset could extend to like just society in general. That like, James, we did a show on the mist, and how as soon as like people start to realize that survival is now in their immediate future. They have to start thinking about how they're going to survive. There's the kind of the guardrails of society break down, then everything turns into a monster. People start turning into monsters. People could become demons. Like they had literal monsters that were storming the store, but also the people inside became cultish and monsterish, and their most base instincts kind of like as soon as you realize that your survival is not guaranteed, then every shadow and footstep becomes a monster shadow and footsteps. As soon as anything anybody does becomes the worst possible scenario. So that is a shift in our consciousness. I got one thing to read here, but anything on that?
Yeah, I think that's brilliant, because the survival aspect, and they talk about sort of the weirdness of society, how we're fooling ourselves into that sort of false sense of safety. Like the cops are just around the corner, they're going to save you. But I mean, let's not look at the statistics on some of that. But anyway, I feel exactly what you're saying, because we are definitely off of our chain when it comes to that sense of safety, because it's on us. It's literally on us. And instead, when you're out there, no joke, no doubt, you're not going to get a cop show up randomly to help you against a bear or whatever. Yeah. Not happening.
Exactly. Is my internet okay? Am I coming in choppy? Or?
No, you're good. Sounds great. Right. No problem. Not one little blurb. You're good.
Okay. All right, beautiful. I have one thing here. You were talking about Appalachia, and I found one thing from the site, whatpad.com, and just the rules of Appalachia. I was talking about the woods and superstition and stuff, and there's 5 rules here, which I've heard before. I just wanted to get a clear thing. In Appalachia, there's a cool podcast, like a Lovecraftian type podcast called it's like a narrative, like a drama, like a audio drama, called the Old Gods of Appalachia, which is it's really, really cool. And it's basically like the Appalachian Mountains are the oldest landmass, basically, like unchanged landmass, like where plate tectonics hasn't really affected or whatever on the whole planet, basically. If there's something essentially like that's so old that like when it's all about like miners and stuff, when they were digging down into the earth, they were digging down into the oldest bones of the planet. They were digging into these ancient memories and these ancient things that have been unchained since Lovecraftian times, basically. And it was kind of shifted in my mind. And then people who live there, basically, obviously it depends on where you are, but I think essentially if you live in on kind of the outskirts of these woods, then you don't have to have I believe in the paranormal, or I like the paranormal type mindset. It's just, these are just the rules. Like, don't stay out after dark. Like, don't talk to strangers. Check your candy for razor blades or whatever. Like, and if you live in Appalachia, you have a different set of rules. And here they are. 1, never be in the woods from dusk till dawn. 2, never leave the marked trail. It's marked for a reason. 3, if you hear voices close to you, they're far away. But if the voices are far away, then they're near. Let me read that. If you hear voices close to you, then they're far away. If you hear voices far away, then they're near you. And if the voices are saying your name, do not answer them. Do not whistle or sing in the woods. And if you're like living on the outskirts of the woods, if your house is like bordering the woods, never look too hard into the trees. You might not like what you see. So they treat this thing like, obviously, like it's populated with danger and stuff. Danger has a power that humans can't even really wrap our mind around, and we're kind of just like, avoid it. Don't do this. Don't mention Skinwalker because it's going to come. Type of vibe. Don't say Voldemort because it'll bring it around. Type of vibe. But more so, like, this is like ancient and powerful. We don't get it. Don't mess with it. To the percent of like, it's almost like an organism. It's almost like don't poke the bear, because the bear like a living, like the woods as like a living abyss that humans have like mastered this, like domesticate. We've mapped and cataloged the playpen, the sandbox that we live in or whatever, but we have no clue what this vast ocean of darkness could potentially be, and it's a whole other playing field, basically. It's kind of the sense I get from that.
Like Cthulhu of the forest. He's everywhere.
Yeah, exactly.
You can't shake him.
Yeah.
Not just in the ocean, the deep Pacific, but also the deep woods. He's watching.
Exactly. That's all I ever got there, brother. Great show.
You're the best. You're the best. Appreciate you very much. James, what you got? Anything to add to that? And we got about a minute left if you got anything.
Yeah, great call from Derek. There's a whole, the mist or fog, that's a whole phenomenon of all kinds of paranormal beings appearing or disappearing in the mist or fog, or around it, or around that same time. Also, yeah, the movie The Mist is crazy, because it's not just the creatures that are outside the building. It is the sort of this one person in this store that has all these ideas about what it's almost like a doomsday or apocalypse idea where this one person in the store it's taking everything that's happening as signs, and they're trying to save everyone in their mind. And of course, they were willing to do terrible things to do that to certain people that they don't agree with. So it's a very well done story, and it's a great reference. So yeah, that's it. A great call from Derek.
Yeah, good stuff. Derek is the man. Give him a follow. troubledminds.org/friends. The Night Stalker is where you will find him. It's alphabetical. Scroll down a little bit. Go check out his YouTube channel and go say hi. Go tell him you enjoy his contributions and his ideas, because he is he's been doing this longer than I have, and he's brilliant. Night Stalker, YouTube, STOCKER, troubledminds.org/friends. Go give him a follow. We're talking, we're ringing in spooky season, I guess. I didn't realize that's what we're doing, but that's what we're doing. Be right back. More Troubled Minds on the way. We got Michael W. Joey, you're up next if you want to jump back in. I'm not sure if you're listening out there. Get in here. Love to hear your thoughts. More Troubled Minds on the way. Thanks for being patient, guys. Be right back.
In a cryogenic slumber, lost in the lunar night, your face a faded number among the stars so bright. Dreams of forgotten echoes, waiting for time's command. Curtains of gray and sorrow, the lonely lunar sand. Below the moonlit sky, of the love we try, silent by your where ancient souls reside, suspended in a story, kept in the cold dark tide. Our futures in the making, silver-etched domain, hearts kept in silent aching, till we meet once again. We are awake below the moonlit sky, to the fragments of the love we try. Frozen time we're resting, waiting for dawn's embrace. Whispers of love confessing in this forgotten place. We are awake below the moonlit sky, to the fragments of the love we try.
What's up, guys? Hope you're well tonight. Joey, you're up next if you want to put your hand up. I'm not sure if you tell me, brother. Thanks for being patient. And then Michael W., you are next. I appreciate your guys' patience. Yeah. Who did I miss? If I missed anybody in the chat, just say hi. I'll say hi back. What's up? Alive over there. I see you. Matzal, Apoc, Lily, Herschel, Dawn, Roving Fungus, Ricky, Gaston. I see you. Joe in Florida. Here we go. Trouble Minds happening right now. Again, Joey, you're up. If you're still got it in you. If not, we'll go to Michael W. Here we go. Trouble Minds happening right now. Welcome back to Troubled Minds. I'm your host, Michael Strange. We're streaming on YouTube, Rumble, X, Twitch, and Kick. We are broadcasting live on the Troubled Minds Radio Network. That's KUAP Digital Broadcasting. And, of course, 88.4 FM, Auckland, New Zealand. Tonight, we're taking your calls as we go back to the well, back to the paranormal well. We're talking the haunted forest, hiker folklore, and reciprocal perception, which is a complicated term, by the way. Yeah, it means sort of this reciprocal perception with nature itself and being able to sort of detach from the modern space, touch grass, grounding, all the rest of that, but sort of really become one with our feral self. Now, I know that sounds like a really crude way to put it, but it's really what this is. And so what does it mean? I don't know. Other than I'll read you the definition one more time, which is super cool. It is, let's see, where is it? The anthropologist David Abram documented how indigenous hunters could track animals across seemingly barren ground by entering what he called reciprocal perception, a reciprocal perception state, a state where the boundary between observer and landscape dissolves. And, we cited that as part of that Lord of the Rings tracking Aragorn, tracking the pack of orcs that had the two hobbits with just what barren rock could tell. And interestingly, these are concepts that go way back for us, and way back conceptually, and way back to our intuition space. And that's the point of this, kind of looking at this and wondering what we've missed as part of the human aspect. Like I always say, it's important to me to not forget the old ways. And what we're talking about tonight is certainly the old ways, and including, of course, the haunted forest itself. Anything, James? And then we'll go to Michael W. And Joey was here for a second. He put his hand up and he dipped. Get in here, Joey, if you're still listening, get in here. We'll put you on with Michael W. We'll get you both on. I know you've both waited a long time. Go ahead, James, if you got anything else, and then I'm bringing in Michael W. on the stage right now.
Yeah, just I wanted to mention the plants. That is a whole other kind of. I do agree, it's a whole other kind of awareness, and I think Derek is right about that. That you're just so outnumbered when you're out there, and I mean they're everywhere. I mean you could even consider the grass or whatever that you're walking on. But I've found there's one account I found years ago of people that they were so in tune with energy and nature, they were able to see like waves of light of energy coming up from the ground from a tree and going up to the top and dispersing. And so if that's happening and we just don't see it, and they're aware of us, then that really is fascinating, and no wonder people feel watched when they're out there. So, yeah, that's about it for now.
Yeah, 100%. I'm sure there's tons of stuff happening that just because we don't see it, we can't measure it directly in that complicated system, the complex system I'm always talking about. There's a lot of spooky stuff going on that we probably won't figure out for a very long time. 702-957-1037. Thanks for being patient, my friend. Let's go to Michael W. White like the Ghost on Discord. How are you? Looking good? Hope you're feeling good. Welcome to Troubled Minds.
Yeah, I'm doing good. Can you hear me good?
Yep, loud and clear. You're coming through great.
Okay, so I have I feel like a nuanced and I hope not argumentative opinion about this stuff. I feel like there's levels to what we're talking about. You know how there's like when it comes to sports, there's PE and there's junior high and there's high school and there's college and there's D1 and there's pro sports, and not everybody can move on to the next level, In that regard, there's levels to what we're talking about here. And what I mean by that is, like, I was born in Tacoma, Washington, a pretty big city for Washington. I think there's a couple million people between there and Seattle. But I lived in a suburb of Tacoma, and it's in the Pacific Northwest, and you're actually really close to some pretty rural areas. There's a lot of farmland mixed in there, and there's a lot of there was in the 80s and early 90s, there was a lot of undeveloped land in there, and it was spattered with timber, or what we called the woods when I was a kid. But it was acreage. It was like 5 acres, 10 acres, 50 acres, if you were lucky, you know, to find something like that to explore. But as around the age of 11, I moved to North Idaho, where I live now. And I live in Moscow, Idaho, which is kind of on the border between the Palouse region, which is wheat fields, but on the other side, it's timberland. It's mostly companies that own thousands and thousands and thousands of acres of timber, where they cut down, logging companies. And so when I say there's levels to this thing, when I lived in Tacoma as a little kid, I would have a couple of acres at a time to explore that I called the woods. Then I moved here to Idaho, and now I have hundreds of thousands of acres to explore that I call the woods, right? That's kind of a next level. But there's still like loggers scrambling around in there, you know. There's people there. Not a lot, but there's people there. And sometimes, you know, loggers will talk about hearing weird things or seeing weird things, or, you know, in Tacoma, in those little spatterings of woods in Tacoma, we didn't see bears, we didn't see lions, you know, but here in Idaho, you see those things. Like a lot of my friends hunt those things where I live here, where I try once a week to go on a hike out in the woods here. And in those places, that's where people hunt bears and lions and, mountain lions is what I'm talking about. And on the other side of that timberland where I live, all the logging companies, you know, all those people that harvest logs in the hundreds of thousands of acres it's basically a giant crop of trees, you know, that's where we get our timber, that's where we get our lumber, you know, for people to build houses with. Right on the other side of that is the next level. When I say there's levels to this thing, the next level is the wilderness, where there's not people logging. A lot of it is conservation, like the Frank Church Wilderness or the Lolo National Forest, the Clearwater National Forest. That's kind of the next level. There's not loggers scrambling around up there cutting down trees and pulling trees out and planting new ones all the time. There's a lot less people in those areas. And some people will argue that that's the same as like a national park. I think they're slightly different. I think wilderness is slightly different than national park. Slightly different because people don't so much go to visit it as a tourist destination. It's only a slight difference, but I'm sure we've talked about on this show in the past how there's that phenomena where you can take the map of missing people and lay it over the top of the map of national parks and cave systems, and it kind of is the same footprint. That's a weird phenomena, and I think that has something to do with sticking to the trails in the national parks.
Like Derek
places
said,
like that.
Like Derek read the rules about the Appalachians, right? You have to stick to the trails or else, right? This is the type of thing. The disorientation effect of, you get turned around in the woods and don't have any direct actual landmarks that the eye can see. You can be screwed if you don't know what the hell you're doing. If you don't know how to find the sun and, the direction you came from, even if you don't know the north, south, east, west, that type of stuff, and you came from the east, even finding the sun is no help to you because you don't know which direction you came from. Like that's the type of like survival mechanisms we have built into us as modern humans, which is ridiculous because again, going back several hundred years, everybody knew. Otherwise you would get lost and get eaten by a mountain lion or whatever, right? I mean, that's just the way it was.
Yeah. I guess there's a few things I want to talk about. Those are. I wanted to point out that there's those levels to things, and like I said, I came from Tacoma when I was a little kid, and in those woods in Tacoma, the only thing that you had to be afraid of, which I was all the time, was people. like you keep asking, are demons real? Do the demons exist? In the woods in Tacoma, the demons are people. There's bad people that want to do bad things to other innocent people, you know? And I guess if you can think of that as a demon, yes, demons exist. But in the woods in Tacoma, it was people. Here where I live, yeah, there's bears and lions, but I've lived here for over 20 years, and I like I said, I go for a hike in these woods. I try to do it once a week, where those bears and lions exist. And I've seen a handful of bears. I've never hunted them. I've never hunted lions either, and I've actually never seen any lions here. Even though, like, I have a lot of friends who do hunt them here, and they kill them on a regular basis. I've never seen one here. And even though I, on a regular basis, go for walks in the places where they live, I find the kills that they leave behind, and I've seen their tracks and things like that. I'm sure they see me, but I guess they're not interested in eating me so far. But here, I guess here it's different than when I was a little kid in Tacoma and my mom told me, don't talk to strangers in the woods, you know. I don't feel like people are the demons here. I don't feel like there are demons here. I think if demons are something, and I'm talking about on a supernatural level, if there are, I don't know if you want to call them interdimensional or supernatural or you know, whatever we're thinking of as these monsters that we're going to call demons. I've never met one in the woods that, at least on the level, I mean, I've seen things via psychedelics that I can't explain, but I've never just been walking in the woods in all my years and had a problem with a demon. I don't think they're here. I think if there is something that we would articulate as a demon that is interested in hurting people, it's going to go where all the people are. Like the bars.
Yeah. I was about to say, so you're more likely to find a demon in like the back alley behind a bar in a big city than you are to find one sort of out there in nature. So I was thinking it exactly as you said it. I was like, yep. Okay. I'm with you. I'm with you. I agree. Like, yes. Can people be demonic and evil to the core? Absolutely. 100%. So I'm with you there. Like if there's nuance to that conversation, and again, it depends on what you believe, as always, and that's why this stuff is important to kind of point out. Is this real? Is this not real? And where do we kind of sit with it? Not just in the conversation, but you personally, not just you, but everybody out there that listens to this, you personally, where do you sit with it? And yeah, wild stuff. And great points. Go ahead. What else you got?
I don't want to sound like I'm perfectly comfortable in the woods. I spend a lot of time in the woods, but I also get freaked out a lot in the woods. Again, I can't put my finger on it exactly why. I can't remember who, maybe it was Derek that was talking about the threshold phenomena. There is, and I've talked to a lot of other people that I would spend time with together, fellowship in the woods. Where there is this threshold phenomena, and for me, the way it would occur is invisible. I would be walking down a trail, and it was a feeling that would hit me like that, where all of a sudden I know for god dang certain that I just crossed over something, and it feels dangerous in a way that I'm in danger of not being able to go back the way I came. Obviously, I'm still here. You know, I don't know why I got those feelings, but I've talked to a lot of other people that experience the same things. And I've been with people where we experience it together. And it's a very real feeling. I don't know how to describe it, but it's like when you talk about that threshold phenomena, that's what it is. And like I said, for me, it's invisible. Now, there's this place that I like to go to, like the place that I like to go to, that I try to go to once a week, is in the woods about half an hour from where I live. And it's a place where a ton of yew trees grow. I don't know if you're familiar with yew trees, but they're one of the trees that lives a very, very long time. There's some in Europe that are like 5,000 years old. And they're associated with druid magic, that goes back a long ways in Europe.
Of course I know. I learned about them in Ultima online, by the way. Just kidding.
There you go.
Only kind of just kidding, but yeah, absolutely. Ancient druid magic, but yeah, go ahead. Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, well, we have them here too in the Pacific Northwest. We have a Pacific yew tree, and it's the same. It lives thousands and thousands of years. And there's actually one that I visit on a regular basis. The diameter of the trunk is over 2 feet. And if you've ever read about yew trees, if everybody knows how the rings inside the tree indicate how many years old it is. Well, the rings inside of a yew tree can be 60 to 80 rings per inch. So if a yew tree is 2 inches in diameter, that tree can be 80 years old. So there's this one that I visit that is 2 feet in diameter. So do the math. I don't know how old this tree is, but this is the one tree in the world that I actually hug. I visit it on a regular basis. Around this yew tree, tons and tons of other yew trees grow. I guess you would call it a yew grove. It's a grove of yew trees interspersed with hemlock and pines and other things like that. But when I go to this place and explore this place, it's not enormous. It's in this Clearwater National Forest that's also mixed with logging country, but this place messes with my head. And this is something I've heard. I don't know if I read it somewhere, if I've heard other people talk about it, but like a magic associated with groves of yew trees. When I go to this place, it messes with my head. It's like I'm a plane flying into the Bermuda Triangle. And you know how planes get lost in the Bermuda Triangle, they just can't seem to keep their bearings. That's what it's like when I explore this place. And I'm not going far. I'm going 100 yards, 150 yards, 200 yards, and then I'm lost. And every time I focus on actually using the yew trees as markers to find my way back when I do this. This is a place that I've been exploring for 10 years, closer to 20 years. And I go back every year and I keep exploring it. And I use these yew trees as markers, but it's a weird thing that I experience when I go in there that doesn't make any sense. How it's somebody might as well have put a bag over my head and spun me in a circle and whacked me a couple of times or something. How I lose my bearings when I'm in this place. And I don't know if that's kind of related to the threshold phenomena. But I remember also James talking about the fog effect. And this is a place that I go to hunt big game every year. And every year, inevitably, that time of year, it gets socked in with fog. And that is terrifying. I go in there at 2 a.m. and I wait for the sun to come up, but it doesn't because the fog rolls in. And so many times it's like somebody I'm in a place that I've been hundreds of times before, but I'm lost because of the fog. And all I can do is sit and wait in the shivering cold, water just running down me, shivering like a jackhammer. And all I can do is just endure the cold and sit and wait and for the fog to lift. Because if I try to find my out in the fog, I'm going to be lost.
Totally.
Anyway,
I've been peppering in J.R.R. Tolkien's Sinks All Night. Here's another one. Gandalf going into the mines of Moria, and he puts the little crystal on the top of his staff and lights it up, and he's looking around and he says, I have no memory of this place. Like, even though he's been there a long time ago, it's changed so much and the energy's so different. Even the archetypal wizard is like, I don't know where I'm at, bros. Wild. And this certainly fits with the mist. Absolutely.
Yeah, well, I think I talked about everything I had to say. I guess I just wanted to share my experiences. That's sorry, it was kind of disjointed and scattered, but those are my experiences with all this stuff. And I guess I did want to say about the sleeping by a stream. I love doing that. I'm extremely comfortable spending the night on the edge of running water, but maybe that's because I'm a Pisces. I don't know.
As am I. Shout out fellow Pisces.
Yeah.
Yeah, it could be. And I think, so when we were young too, we'd go up to Yosemite and camp, kind of in those hills up there. And we would always camp by the water. But again, there's a road there and there's campgrounds, you know what I mean? So it's way different, like you said, sort of that hierarchy of wilderness, that if you're way out there, I would think that that stream is going to be comforting, because at least direction wise where you're at, because you can follow it, right? But then also, like we were saying, if there's some sort of a kind of maybe a predator hunting you, like a mountain lion or something, then it hears you. I mean, it's going to anyway, but you can't hear it. So there's that aspect of being too close to the stream for too long. And I don't know, like I said, I don't know if we got any trackers out there that could maybe make that make sense. But again, and the references from this original post that inspired the show tonight, if you talk to any serious hiker, they're like, yes, demons are real. Make sure you don't walk along a stream for too long. Sometimes the witch trails me for miles, et cetera, so on. But that's where that reference comes from if you're just joining us. But yeah, fire stuff, man. I don't know. You know me, I like to look at the world in a bunch of different ways, because I see those reality tunnels in people, and I like to hear those experiences. And it's interesting to me that a different, let's say, region that you live in has kind of cleansed the idea of, demons in the wilderness. Like I said, not entirely comfortable, but you don't feel like you're going to run into the old man that's going to, try and put you in the oven and eat you or something, right? Which clearly would be a demon. I mean, yeah, but yeah, I mean, right? Other than just defining it biblically, how else would you define a demon? But you know what I mean? And that's a grotesque example. I'm sorry about that, but yeah, go ahead.
For me, a stream is more like salvation. For me, the danger of being lost in the wilderness is not having water. And obviously there are dangers with just drinking water out of a stream. But for me, a trickle leads to a creek, leads to a stream, leads to a river, and a river always leads to civilization. It always does. And that's one of the methods that people end up surviving the wilderness is just following water, and that's how I think of streams. Follow them forever. Follow them until you find people. And hey, maybe I just don't know what I'm talking about. Maybe I don't have as much experience as the people who say it's dangerous to follow a stream for too long. But that's how I look at it. I agree. Yeah, I think
I agree. It just sounds very folklore-esque when they're talking about it that way. That's why I kind of want to throw it out to the crowd and talk about it. But yeah, fire stuff, brother. I appreciate you. Again, I know you waited a long time to get in here, but this is why we do this, to talk, like I said, talk to regular people about extraordinary ideas, as you know, and welcome to the thing. Always a pleasure. Thank you very much for that. James, anything for Michael W. before we trim this out? We got about 3 minutes left. You got anything for Michael W.?
Yeah, great call. I do think that, and this keeps coming up because I think it's important, the use of words and labels on things. And also the idea that there are different versions or ideas about what demons or daemons or any number of other beings are out there. And so it may just be, that person's the person that made that post, that's their idea. They have this idea that they've found through their own research or whatever, that these demons are all bad. But again, we can only, each of us, do our own research so much, and we're not going to get all the perspectives from everyone else all at once. It's impossible in one lifetime. So,
or maybe that person's demon is my cryptid or something like that.
Right. Exactly. Labels. And I think that, there are people out there in the woods that are good and bad, just like you said. And I think there are also other beings out there that are good and bad or neutral. And you never know what's you're going to encounter. So, yeah, amazing call as always.
Final thoughts, all yours, Michael.
Thank you, guys. I love you. Have a good night.
You are the best. Appreciate you. Love back at you, and thanks for being part of this. you know where to find him. Join the Discord if you guys have not joined the Discord. Like I said, I'm a little boorish because I'm the timekeeper and trying to keep us on track and stuff. So I interrupt and I do some stuff. And, these people that you see here, I've interacted with many of them, most of them offline, not on the show. These people are incredible people. Come meet Michael W. White Like the Ghost is his handle there. Please come follow the Discord, troubledminds.org. Click the Discord link. Come say hi to Michael, meet him, and say, hey, look, I really enjoyed your input. Not just this time; he's called in several times in the past. This is why we do it, to meet people. Like I said, this is in that AI acceleration space that I'm always talking about. Don't forget that what we're building and creating as part of that, as separate from that even, is a very human space. And that's probably why you find yourself here, and certainly why it brings me back and night after night after night. But appreciate the call. Always good stuff. And the different perspectives from the different places are what this is all about. What do you know about the haunted forest? And we're ushering in the spooky season itself. I didn't realize it, but James turned on his heater tonight. Or maybe a couple nights ago, I don't know. But he's got the heater on, which means we're moving into the season where things go bump in the night. What do you know about haunted forests? What about the archetype? What about demons? Are they real? 702-957-1037. This is Troubled Minds. I'm Michael Strange. Be right back. More from James and your calls as well. Nobody on the line if you want to jump in here or on the way.
Jungle, machines hum, the digital rumble, gates of cyber open wide, plug us into cosmic tide, feeling sparks across the sky, as knowledge flies, we're amplified. Stargate, 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 open to the in this massive data center dome, eternal truth stop to roam. Circuits flicker with endless fire, data streams that never tire. Unified by electric dreams, unlock the truth in silver beams. Stargate, 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 open to the arcane fate. Synthesized what we seek and find, infinite paths in the network mind. Answers buzz from star to core, knowledge whispers evermore. Stargate, 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 open to the arcane fate. In realms where the data streams collide, imagination and logic side by side. In a labyrinth of digital names, we transcend our earthly ways. Tapping keys like cosmic tones, spikes become our whispered homes. Stargate, 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 open to the arcane fate.
Right? There's your Stargate ritual, midnight Eastern style. Joey, I see there. You're up next. Put your hand up if you're going to get in here and I'll put you up. Like I said, sorry about that. The bouncing back and forth. I'm not sure if it's technology or if it's a matter of your time, whatever. But yeah, okay, cool. You're next. We got Joey coming up next. Appreciate that. Joe in Florida on the phone line as well. More from James. And we're just talking haunted forests, right? ringing in the spooky season, because why the hell not? Appreciate you guys being patient with the airwaves and with each other's ideas. And just like I said, building the human space together. That's what it's about. That's what this is all about. Who did I miss? Cubs Future. What's up, Raz? Who did I miss? Margie. Sorry if I missed you earlier. Who did I miss? Who did I miss tonight? Just let me know if I didn't say hi. What's up, Knights of the Storm, Real JB? What's going on, guys? Hope you were well. And yeah. Welcome to all the new mods, old mods that are on on Rumble. I figured out. So here's why it was an ID 10T error for me with the Rumble mods, why I couldn't figure it out, because I was finding your guys' page, like your actual like profile on Rumble, and pasting that into the thing. But I didn't need that. I actually just needed your handle name. So it was spitting out errors at me. Once I figured that out, I wanted to punch myself in the face. But at least I figured it out. Actually, you know who figured it out was Perplexity. Perplexity told me. Michael Strange is a robot. I see you guys. What's up? If I missed anybody, just say hi. I'll say hi back, and trying to do my best to keep up and keep this a social stream. What's up, DTM? How you doing? What's up? There you go, DTM. What's up, brother? Welcome to the thing. What's up, DJ? DJ says a wizard is never late. Exactly right. Hi from YouTube. Yep. Discord was choppy. Yeah. Sorry about that. It's tough to keep everything as perfectly streamlined all the time. Who else did I miss? If I missed any of you guys, just say hi. I'll say hi back. Ioxy's still there holding it down. Mr. Mission Control, I see ya. Good evening, guys. Hello. Here we go. Trouble Wine's coming up in 10 seconds. We got Joey coming up. We got Joe in Florida and Jen in where Jen on YouTube. Here we go. Trouble Wine's happening. Here we go. I forgot. I legitimately forgot. Here we go. Welcome back to Troubled Minds, yada yada, all the things, all the places. Tonight we're talking, wouldn't you know it, back to the well, right? Like I said, when we started tonight, I tend to get a little navel-gazy and, the narratives get a little twisted and there's a lot of things happening and it's like, I don't know, Mike, I'm not sure if this is the way. Well, we're going back to the well and we're talking the haunted forest, the archetype of such, and I'm calling it a hiker folklore and reciprocal perception, which is an interesting anthropological aspect, which I'll read to you in just a second. But we are taking your calls. What do you know about this? And again, great call from Michael W. Appreciate that, white like the ghost. And look, I don't know. As usual, those reality tunnels make us look at the world in different ways. And if we don't talk to each other outside of that space, looking in the same direction, we're doing it wrong. And so welcome to Troubled Minds. That's what it's all about. James, get you momentarily. Joey, thanks for being patient, my man. You are on Troubled Minds. How you doing, sir? Welcome to the thing and go right ahead. What's on your mind?
Hey, good evening, Mike. Good evening, James.
Hello,
everybody.
Hello. Top of the evening to you.
Do demons exist? Isn't that what you asked initially?
Yeah, the initial question was part of that initial tweet that the guy posted. So it's kind of a more of like a, if you talk to any serious hiker, they're like, yes, demons are real. Make sure you don't walk along a stream for too long. Sometimes a witch trails me for miles, etc. So kind of the thing. But as you know me, non-linear, open-ended, take it anywhere you like. You could talk demons or rivers, shout out rivers, or the haunted forest or whatever. Whatever's on your mind, my man.
Yeah, man. I was listening to some of the calls and you reading the write up, and it made me think about this sermon that I heard in a church like maybe 2 years ago now, and I don't remember the exact sermon, but I remember the nature of it was about man, like today's man's preparedness for the events of the being how do you word it, being encountering the wilderness, like our detachment from our nature, and some of the stuff like I've heard talked about tonight. If you don't spend a lot of time in the woods, you probably don't feel super comfortable right away, or maybe certain things you just don't understand. You might let your mind wander if you're inclined, and you could speculate that it's all kinds of things, or so much so that maybe you could kind of even manifest it into some kind of reality in your mind, hallucinations. But under under several induced hallucinations, I've traversed all kinds of different wildernesses. It's not just to say that the wilds of the woods is the only wilderness. Somebody that's very comfortable with the water would traverse the depths just because they know those kind of dangers are there. They feel more comfortable with it. They're not so easy to get an edge in on. So like I feel personally that maybe it's not demons, but influencers for one degree or the other. Kind of like in the Bible, when God told Satan that he could go mess with Job as like his best follower, but he's like, yeah, go ahead and throw the book at him and just don't kill the guy, and he did. So it was like he's not able to actually do anything. It's just little amounts of influence to see if they'll push things one way or the other, or perhaps if there's just some kind of entity that likes to watch or toy around or what have you. Maybe it's all possible, but I feel like when you have a fear or not understanding, if I give you enough information and I prepare you enough with the means of man, you could go out into any wilderness and be like, we're the top animal. What are you talking about, bro? Like, care about that whale right now. I'm in the water. It's my water. Set of sonar, zap his ass. Sorry, but I'm just saying, like that's the emphasis. That's when man is fully prepared, he can go avatar that stuff. You know what I mean? Just mine whatever and do his thing. And there's the other half of us that feel kind of cross about that. So there's not a real explanation on my part, but I just feel like if you go out into a wilderness that you don't fully understand, you have not prepared yourself for that kind of journey. Just imagine doing that under the duress of like hallucinogenic drugs or something, like willingly. So if you have that kind of willpower and you come out of it okay, then I think you'll be all right to go try some new wildernesses. But if you walk out into the woods and you get eerie quickly, or you can't last it, even a day, that's a question. Each one of us should ask ourselves, just like the pastor asked, like, are we able to be the same suitable being to encounter this wilderness? And then that same night when he gave that sermon, I saw something like what you were trying to explain earlier. I saw it. I won't lie to you. I had several tablets of hallucinogenic, and I was standing on my back porch, and it was all dark. And I noticed, like, because I live out in the woods, and there's swamps here, and there's beach, and there's sea, and there's bay. So I mean, I've got a lot of different, wildernesses to face and feel comfortable. And plus, there's little pockets of people, so it's a whole different wilderness by itself. But it's just the same. You walk through a city street, and you see all the faces just like going by, but like each one of those people has all the same needs and stuff going on inside of them. It's just a sea of them, or a forest of them. It's hard to decipher one from the next unless some kind of energy reaches out and touches the rest of them. Just like walking through the woods by yourself, some kind of energy might just see a chance to touch you, or promote one side versus the other, and you might get scared, or you might just diminish that thing's energy. I know from a lot of experiences I've had out in the wilderness of different kinds, I feel things. I know what's happened somewhere sometimes. I feel something there. I feel something thinking it wishes it could do something, but like I don't know, I just don't give that much ground for it to stand on. Like put it up a wall. I think James and I was talking about that in another show several episodes back. Made a good point about putting up walls in your mind to not to negate that thing as a being, but to make sure it doesn't just have an influence upon you one way or the other. It's there, and that's the thing, is acknowledging it, just like fear. Like I know very well that jumping out of planes is a very stupid thing for a human being to do. You can emulate a bird all you want. You can say that you identify. Doesn't matter. You're not going to fly. But you know what? I got your back, dog. Give you this parachute. Teach you how to use this joker. Once you feel comfortable in the sky, and you're like, yeah, man, like we tested this thing. It's definitely going to work. And if it don't work, I got to back. I mean, I already know. Whoop, you're out the door. But somebody else is still going to freak out to no end. But so, well, you paid for this ride either way. It's going to go. The plane's going to go around and land.
Yeah, well said, all that. With the multiple wilderness aspect, I think it's important to recognize that sort of the wilderness in our mind. And like you said, that James brought up previously on another show, those walls are important because, again, the influence is around us all the time. I talk about these as those control mechanisms and recognizing when it's sort of kind of creeping in. And, you know, too much politics will turn you into a political monster. And there's a ton of those out there, too. And so just recognizing, and I call it, you said the walls in your mind, I call it that armor of God, as I'm always describing, not just with AI, but with everything, literally everything. Like, recognize that the influence is deep and it's always coming and it's always changing. And if we don't recognize it, we can't do anything about it, which is really the basis of these conversations, to talk about the stuff outside of that, you know, mainstream paradigm. But yeah, fire stuff. I appreciate that angle on that in different wildernesses in terms of the wilderness of the mind, because it certainly exists. Fire stuff. What else you got? Go ahead.
Yeah, man. I believe what you just said is true. Armor of God, right? Like, it's a gift from God to know that you're truly free of will, and that when something wants to influence you one way or the other, if they want to raise your blood pressure a little, get you angry, make you say something, make you step out of the character that you have said to yourself is the true you, that you will also project out into the world if you're true to form. All right, like, I don't know anything more than the next person, and I would never claim to, but I find it very hard to traverse this life with the cacophony of information my algorithm is entitled to this day and age, to not solidify myself like something that I will go on as a truth until otherwise, you know, that truth is proven different. Not that I'll say it's verbatim truth, but I have to have some kind of direction of travel. If you believe in nothing, you know, you could fall for anything. I'm pretty resolute in my faith in things as far as what I feel about my place in this life. But
sure, I can see that. You gotta have an anchor somewhere. You can't be sort of free floating out into the astral or
armor of God, like you say.
Exactly right.
You walk through the valley of the shadow of death, and you fear no evil, because God are with thou. Amen. I walk through the woods. I'm in the woods right now just to like place emphasis, because I've been listening to it on and off, but my phone was acting funny, so I got it charged up. Now I'm just kind of walking around. You go out here. You guys said before to end this. I'll get off, but to end this, not to disagree, but you said, like, when you get out in the woods and all of a sudden stuff gets silent, and you realize, like, all these noises, you know, of nature, of you, once you've detached from that echo of, you know, humanity that you took out into the woods with you, and now you're solitary out there in the world again. But like, nothing ever stops moving ever, so everything's always making some kind of noise. And sometimes I've heard people say, like, they can't do without that background noise, and when they get out into like the world, it freaks them out. So sometimes, no matter what your situation is, wherever you're at in the world, if you just close your eyes and listen to the amount of sound that the world makes without trying to identify it all, and just let it become this one sound, eventually, if you listen long enough, it becomes like a whoa, 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 because all this stuff is just making some kind of vibration at one time. And it sounds kind of like the ocean, and then you go to the ocean, and it's all kind of a interconnected thing to me. I don't really freak out about those sounds. I'll listen to them often enough. I try not to say so damn much.
Yeah, kind of the Schumann resonance effect. Like, we've evolved with this, and so hearing it shouldn't spook us. It should sort of ground us, and I think that's part of it.
Exactly, Mike. When you're in the woods, and all of a sudden, if things get silent, that's when there is trouble, because the woods is making noise all the time. like you said, somebody was saying before about the birds making certain calls as you go by and things like that. Yeah, you can hear how everything talks to each other, or gets its information spread around, and everything knows whatever's going on, even the plants. You were saying about how they bend for certain reasons. Some of them you can tell just by that. The way I think it was Night Stalker was saying, so like the feeling that he was reading in the stones, like in the ground. There's no print there, but you can see how everything else was affected by whatever passed it. I mean, it's just an energy reading, just to make it pretty basic.
Yeah, well said. Well said. All that. What's gorgeous about your call right now? Welcome back. Glad to have you back. Talking about meeting incredible people. Please join the Discord. Come say hi to Joey. Fire stuff as always. But also, I can hear the forest in the background as you're talking. There's like a chirping, and I love it. I love it.
Yeah, that's what I was hoping for. Yeah, I didn't know if it would be loud enough, but
it's loud enough. I hear. I got headphones on. I'm not sure if you guys hear it in the chat. Let me know. But fire stuff. Appreciate the call, and look forward to talking with you soon. Thanks for fixing the phone issue, whatever that was, and jumping in here and fire stuff. And we got to hear the sound of the call of the wild together. Appreciate you, Joey. Thanks for the call.
Thanks, Marty.
Have a great night. Come join the Discord. Like I said, talking about amazing people. We have a really, really amazing aspect of Troubled Minds is we just attract amazing people. I don't know, like call it luck, but come meet Joey, come meet Michael W., White Like the Ghost, James, all the people that are active on the Discord. If you haven't done it yet, troubledminds.org, click the Discord link, come say hi. Joey El Demente is what we call him there. And a lot of things in play here, and that's why we talk to each other, because we're going to spot things that somebody else doesn't. And if we don't talk to each other, then we're missing the forest for the trees. See what I did there? 702-957-1037. Click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. Thanks for being patient, my man. Joe in Florida, you're on Troubled Minds. How are you, sir? Go right ahead.
Hey, the only sound I have is me in my urban backyard trying to see if the rat traps went off because my neighbor's got fruit trees. But it would be nice to be out in the woods right now in some cooler weather. Anyway, basically staring into the forest, and the forest stares back, kind of like the abyss. When you first started the show, I thought about grounding as the simplest level when they say that people can take their shoes off and walk barefoot. And then you can ground yourself, which might have positive health benefits and things, just from being literally grounded to the earth. I know that I was, Boy Scouts many, many moons ago. We would go camping, but it was with other people. So you always told stories by the campfire and stuff, but me particularly never really got spooked. The only time I did was we went camping in the wintertime at Montauk Point in Long Island. And while it was wooded, but it wasn't in the woods because it was near the water, literally near the ocean, the Atlantic. It was cold and desolate, and it was just our troop. And it was probably only like 8 people from our troop. And while it was fun, it was still desolate. And you could see yourself, if you were there for a couple of days, maybe starting to get into your own head. So, a lot of that, in my opinion, is for an amateur person that's a woodsman, the first layer might be the first couple of days. If you're by yourself at night, you might get into your own head. Like, hey, did you hear that? Did you hear that rumbling out there? Did you hear this? Did you hear that? Now, who knows? If that's not the beginning of opening up your mind and your body to something that might be out there, a demon, a ghost, a spirit, or just your own imagination, if you're opening yourself up to these things. And maybe some of us get spooked and we make it up, like some people using a Ouija board, or that's groupthink. Oh, it just moved. And maybe it really did move. And maybe it really did move because it was something else, or maybe it just moved because in the back of everybody's subconscious, they're just doing it. Which kind of gets me to think about the water and the rivers and the streams and things like that. Maybe it is magnifying our own mind to manifest some kind of poltergeist effect in your general area. You know, so just kind of maybe juice type stuff. But I do remember when you spoke about quite a few years ago, the Ghost Walkers of Hawaii. You did a show on that, and I had never heard about that. And then you had video. We had video of was it Gettysburg or Battle of Gettysburg, where there's actually like a spirit or something that crawls across the field, which makes me wonder if in a lot of these forests, maybe they legitimately are haunted by the scars of armies being decimated. You know, whether they're Native American tribes or in Japan, samurai, in Europe, all of those things. Maybe there was a lot of death there, and that shadow hangs around. And if you're there long enough, you feel that, you get a glimpse of that, and you see that. You know, the Bigfoot has been mentioned, and it was kind of curious that a couple of weeks ago in Florida, there was a really good Sasquatch sighting that I'd sent to a buddy of mine. And I kind of remember a few years ago that there was a Sasquatch, Bigfoot sighting in North Florida. And then a couple of weeks later, in a forest in Georgia. And I was just wondering, I'm like, I wonder if it's the same creature that was seen in North Florida and then traveling into Georgia.
Which would be the skunk ape, right? Like regionally, I think they call it the skunk ape down there, right?
Florida is the skunk ape in the last report by the Bigfoot BR. I think it's the Bigfoot Reporting Foundation. It's a BRFO. They call it the Bigfoot. I know south of me, when I went camping in Mayaca, and I've told that story before, I was literally in the Mayaca River at a KOA, not knowing anything about Mayaca. I had seen the V-shaped chevron craft fly overhead silently. And I was like, whoa, that was pretty cool. It was kind of weird. I didn't lose any sleep over it, but, you know. But then the next day, I asked the guy that was working at the KOA, anything weird go on down here in Mayaca? And the guy looked at me like he was weird to begin with. And come to find out that the skunk ape was sighted in Mayaca. And it's kind of funny because there's a Facebook group now called Skunk Ape Liberation, which they're kind of like, I want to say, they're like these group, I don't want to say, like anarchists, but they use the skunk ape, and there's supposedly a sighting of it. You can't tell if it's true or not, but the skunk ape is symbolically, I would say, like South Florida, but it could be anywhere in Florida, technically, you know. But again, if I'm underneath my truck and I sit underneath my truck long enough, I might get claustrophobic and a little bit panicked, right? So if I'm in the woods long enough, I might start thinking, you know, nothing is actually something. So, and then I might see a large owl and say to myself, well, I was probably abducted, right? Because we all know the stories that the owls are not what they seem. So it's an interesting conversation, but everybody else, you know, everybody has a different experience in the woods. We did mention missing 411. That seems to be, in my mind, the ultimate curse of the woods, because people go missing, and we still don't have proper explanations for that. And when they do go missing, a lot of times there's storms and things that happen after, you know, that missing person comes out. So it's kind of weird. And then I also, I'll probably leave you with this one, but then I thought about tulpas and belief. So you go into the woods and it's focused belief. And if everybody goes into those woods knowing that they're haunted, they'll probably come out with some kind of experience. It's like going to Ybor City and taking a ghost tour. So, you know, I don't know. And, you know, and demons, what are demons? Negative, positive, you know, I don't think we always hear the positive. You know, people say they die and they see Jesus, or they see this and they see that, but more than anything, I think a lot of us that have something happen to us while we're awake, it seems to be typically negative. But maybe that's just me.
Hey, we're allowed to just be me, and that's totally cool. Shout out Joe, been literally listening for years and years and years. Not kidding you, that Night Marchers show of Oahu in Gettysburg, the Ghosts. I'm not kidding. That show had to be 5.5 or maybe 6 years ago. That's how long ago.
You know why I remember that story, because that was the night.
Synchronicity.
That was the night my sister-in-law. Well, it was synchronicity, and it was weird because my sister-in-law passed away, and I had to go to the house. It was during COVID. That show, and I looked at my wife the next day, and I said, "Did you ever hear of the Ghost Walkers?" Because Hawaii it was total synchronicity, because she had lived in Hawaii and she loved Hawaii. And here she is dead at 50. And literally the next day I mentioned it to my wife, and she was like, yeah, she loved Hawaii. And then we could do this in a haunted show if you want to review it again, but that was the first, was I put on your show that night to get some calmness after having a tragic day. And we ended up going to Hawaii because that show was the beginning of the rest of the synchronicities that happened during the memorial service, all kinds of weird stuff. I had a body that came in from Hawaii that was a ship-in. That usually never happened. Just weird stuff. And we ended up going to Hawaii to spread her ashes, which my wife and I are going to Hawaii again in May to Maui to see a buddy of mine. But anyway.
So maybe that synchronicity is time to revisit. Let me know if you have some time. We'll put that together, okay?
Yeah, no problem. Have a good night, guys. I got to get some rest anyway. I got to be on the ice 9 in the morning, so
get it.
Talk to you guys later.
Appreciate the call. You know you love him. Joe in Florida, good friend for a long time. Not kidding you, 5.5 years ago, probably, that show he's talking about. We're talking the haunted forest, hiker folklore, and reciprocal perception. What the hell does all that mean? What does it mean to you? 702-957-1037. This is Troubled Minds on Michael Strange. Be right back. More on the way. We got Ricky and Jen coming up. More from James and your calls as well. See you on the other side of the break.
Crazy colors swirling, got the laughter in the air. Jesters in the night, they weave magic everywhere. Clowns are juggling dreams, wild world is in despair. Nothing's quite as certain when reality's a game. Chaos in the corner, whispers calling out your name. Look around, it's laughter, even when we're feeling pain. You know what you want me, there'd be nights like this. Nobody want me, there'd be nights like this. Nobody want me, there'd be nights like this. Strange nights I insist, strange nights I insist. Dancing shadows flicker under neon all aglow, while the stage is set for tales that nobody will know. Echoes of the laughter as the lost ones see the show. Life's a playful circus where the chaos takes a bow. Joy and sorrow blending in the rhythm that we vow. Join the ride of madness, it's the only way for love. Nobody want me, there'd be nights like this. Nobody want me, there'd be nights like this. Nobody want me, there'd be nights like this. Strange nights I insist, strange nights I insist. Twists and turns and shadows, laughter in the night. A tapestry of madness, dancing with the light. Fools and fun were woven, chaos in our stride. Embrace the wild, let the laughter be our guide. Nobody want me, there'd be nights like this. Nobody want me, there'd be nights like this. Nobody want me, there'd be nights like this. Strange nights I insist, strange nights I insist. Falling in the rhythms, beats that pound and thrum. A flashing carnival where the misfits come undone. Whirling through the madness with our hearts set to ignite. In the symphony of chaos will remain the shining light. Yet nobody want me, there'd be nights like this. Nobody want me, there'd be nights like this. Nobody want me, there'd be nights like this. Strange nights I insist, strange nights I insist.
Right. What's up, guys? Jen is first, and then Ricky's after that. More from James as well. Thanks, guys, for being patient. Yeah, a lot in play here. If I missed anybody, just say hi. I'll say hi back. Welcome all the new mods over there on Rumble. If James, you're also modded on Rumble. Everybody's going to be a mod. Everybody join Rumble. If you haven't, this is a good time to plug that. You know where to find it. Links are going to be in the description down below, troubledminds.org. And right there, you can't miss it. It's on the right side. Go join the Rumble. Go join the chat there. And come meet these amazing people. The chat is still segregated where everything else goes to one space, but Rumble has their own little ecosystem over there. So just so you know, we could merge them, but I don't know. It kind of feels wrong. Anyway, taking feedback on that. If I missed anybody, just say hi. I'll say Eric is here. What's up, buddy? Daryl in New York. Great karaoke last night. Thanks again for having me on that. Yeah, what's up? Talking back to the well, haunted forest to ring in spooky season. Here we go. Troubled Minds happening. Jen first, more from James, and Ricky after that. Here we go. Welcome back to Troubled Minds. I'm your host, Michael Strange. All the places, all the things, troubledminds.org. You can find the Rumble chat. The bump in Rumble chat is at Rumble. You know where to find it, troubledminds.org. On the right side, watch on Rumble, watch on YouTube. We're in all the places you would expect. And of course, we're on digital radio, KUAP Digital Broadcasting out of Las Vegas. For real, and also 88.4 FM Auckland, New Zealand. Tonight we're talking the Haunted Forest, ringing in spooky season, as I've been saying, and oddly enough, well, a lot of synchronicities as part of it, which, how do you explain these things? I'm not so sure you can, but shout out to Joe. That was a long time ago, bro. That was like literally years ago, that show you brought up. But again, there was a massive synchronicity storm that came as part of that show. It's wild how you kind of throw ideas out and these things kind of stack and happen. Wild. We'll get back to that at some point as well. The night marchers and sort of that residual energy. Maybe as we're coming into spooky season, maybe we'll get to that. Anything, James, and then we'll go to Jen.
Yeah, great calls from everyone. I do vaguely remember that now. I think it might have been like right when I started listening or close to that. So it's amazing. And yeah, the synchronicity thing is also always amazing when that happens. And I do want to point out, I do like that Joe mentioned you don't always hear the positive experiences. And again, that's part of, because of popular culture, it has to be negative and scary. Everything has to be negative and scary. So all paranormal, otherworldly beings have to be scary as well, which if you look into it enough, you'll find that's not always the case.
Indeed. Which is, as you talk about, and I think it's important to recognize those definitions. And I've said this in the past too. If you look at an alien and you look at a Bigfoot, right? How do you compare the two? Because they're both, let's say, constructs of the human mind. How do we define it without actually having them in captivity or, sort of meeting with them or, you know what I mean? First contact, that type of stuff. So to me, like if you say Bigfoot, I think aliens, right? Because I think it's a definition aspect. It's how we describe these things. And it is all living in our mind, in our reality tunnels anyway. So like I said, I'm not saying any of it's fake. I'm not saying any of it's real. I'm saying, let's take it, a step at a time and consider the evidence and make up your own mind. That's it. That's why I'm here. Love to hear your guys' thoughts. If you want to be part of the conversation, 702-957-1037. Click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. Let's get Jen in here. Thanks for being patient. Jen in Missouri. I remembered where you're from. Sorry about that. We're talking the Haunted Forest, hiker folklore, and reciprocal perception. How are you, Jen? All yours. Go right ahead.
How are you guys doing?
Oh, pretty good. Thanks for asking. Hope you're well as well.
Good.
What do you got? Go ahead.
Yep, doing good. Definitively, there are two, you could say two different worlds at work. You have the world of humanity. It's set itself up with cities and civilization and everything working how it should to build societies. Ideally, it has its own problems, but people live in it pretty comfortably and they do it until their death and they continue on that way. And it works out. It's got a world to itself that has its pros and cons, and there's another world as well. And that world is just the world of the wild, basically just the realm of the world that you could choose or not choose by living away from that one. And so many times over, I mean, people do think that they could be living in that realm by isolation alone, and they try to, and they may be self-imposed or they may do it unintentionally, but they have that choice. But the world I'm talking about with this is that you have the world of the wild, essentially the completely uncivilized, separate world from that. And then how the human interacts with that realm, how they interact with it or how they survive in it and how they react to it is similar but different to the way that they interact in the world of civilization. So you have those two separate worlds. In the realm of the wild, it is a separate city, entity, energy, a separate everything. If you take everything away of the conveniences that you might have if you lived in civilization, living in the woods can be beautiful and enjoyable if you have the convenience of civilization mixed in. So you could still have all the creature comforts, but your environment is the wild. So you can kind of see all of that almost like a zoo. And a lot of people do enjoy that perspective. But there's another perspective to that. It's separate from that. It's not quite the same as camping in it or visiting it momentarily. If you had to actually exist in it without the hand of civilization, it looks a lot different. So, I mean, it is a unique experience, and it is two separate worlds. I lived, only able to live for 3 years when I did it on my own. And I had intermittent electricity. I moved out onto, due to a death of a friend, all these circumstances that happened and collided, moved out onto 364 acres. That 364 acres was additionally expanded out into nothing but more people who had about 364 acres. So people were spaced out exponentially, and the nearest store on foot or by car, by whatever means, I did not even go out there with a car. So I had no vehicle. And the nearest location of civilization was 8 miles walk. And beyond that to a Walmart, which in this region of the United States.
That sounds so wrong. Walking 8 miles to a Walmart sounds so wrong.
No, Walmart was 14 miles.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Walmart would have been 14 miles. But you spend half a day, hypothetically, if you walk to a gas station there, and then half a day back. And your nearest neighbor was about a quarter mile away, or something near that, quite a ways away. And out there with no vehicle, so you load in so much for a couple of weeks. And I did that for 3 years. And the house that I had was wood heat, and electricity was an old farmhouse that had been occupied for a while. The view was incredible. I had a view of a valley in the Ozark Mountains, and there was absolutely nothing except the woods. And it was incredible in the right season. But the elements themselves and how prolific the storms, there would be these storms would come in on the hillsides that would spark inside on the, over the faucet of the sink. There was no hot water. It was very rural in every way. There was a well, but it was pretty rough. And
you were calling us from there. I remember the stories from the well, right?
I was calling you from the attic because I had the only internet I could get was extremely expensive for me. It was like, to have internet was through AT&T. It was the only thing I could reach out there. And I tried several different services, and AT&T was able to intermittently connect out there. And I'd call I have to go up into the attic or outside and to even maintain a good connection. But that's where I was living at the time when I started listening to Troubled Minds. And I just did it for about 3 years because the last winter that I was there, it was just gathering the wood or trying to, I could have, but I literally did it up, alone. It was really rough.
Little house on the prairie.
And when I was, I'm not going to go into like the history of it, but the only thing I had was like the weapons that I needed and the tools that I, can make, and your wits and your awareness. And that was literally it. It was like you were just alone out there. But when I was out there, it wasn't immediate. I mean, you could immediately tell that the woods had an intelligence to them because you're alone with it. And there was a feeling of a sense that there was a presence to it. There was no doubt that it was alive, and it was either aware or it did not care that you were in it. And so and I could see from the things I saw around me how mercilessly it was, just the way that the nature acted. And the nature itself is the spirit that people are talking to. The nature was the embodiment, the elements all the time, whether it was the season or it was a storm, unexpected. If you were out in it, it was, it meant a lot about your existence, 100%. And so you would have these cautionary ways, and I was so isolated. And I mean, when people talk about demons or angels, I began to believe and understand that it was that it was that truth, that was the truth, and that our society is mingled into that truth. And perhaps they've been trying to shield themselves from it for a long time. And I did a lot of work and study and research about it. And it seems so. It seems like people have been in civilization, trying to separate themselves from it to secure themselves as comfortably as possible on the earth. Even though, the trueness of it, especially if cut off away from society, is significantly different. And we're not talking about camping or hiking for a couple of weeks, or camping for a couple of weeks at a hunting cabin, or going out to a house that has all the modern conveniences and you're just out there because it's pretty to look at. It's different when you are at the mercy of it. It's significantly different feeling. And you know that you could choose, but sometimes, and there were times where you could not choose.
Yeah, something
there was
like
no
that,
way out.
like a bad weather spell that could change the entire season. Yeah, and then screw you. And I mean, you're eating beans out of a can because it's the only thing you can get, or whatever. It's the only thing you have left. I mean, that's the type of stuff that, like, as you're describing, right? There's no glamping. There's none of that. And so much of the world is still that. It's still that deep, dark, really scary wilderness that we've talked about this before, you and I on the show, is that it's scary. It's trying to kill you. Whether it knows it or not, it may be like an indifferent power. But it's
not necessarily trying to, but it's beautiful and it has its process, and it's kind of up to yourself if you can survive it or not. And if and you don't know that until you do, and it's an awkward feeling, but it is alive and is doing, and it is the demons, and we have our inner demons and angels as well that try to guide us through all those things. But the nature itself is this whole separate entity. It has so much to it. I always thought, about how did they learn, meaning our predecessors, how did they learn that how to survive this to the point that they did with the mapping of the stars and the mapping of everything. And it was all for survival. And they were taught by these angels and demons that are in the world, and the world that they live in is the one I'm describing. It's the one that's uncivilized. And they learned it from that. And I always laugh when people say, well, I got it planned out, because you spend enough time, for real in it, and you see what your planning means to it. And it means absolutely nothing.
There's a saying that goes, man plans, God laughs. Yes, exactly. Like I said, one bad weather spell can change everything and be the difference between life and death. Yeah, that's wild. Funny, going down memory lane, that like I remember you calling from the attic and like spiders and stuff, and
yeah.
Funny.
Yeah, and I would literally like, it was also dependent upon the work too, like, which is different. It was just very different back there. I did it for 2 winters, and the third winter was kind of rough, and I just it made me so anxious, and I couldn't, and I just moved back into town. But I'm just being honest, like it was, I mean, it was enough for me as far as seeing how it would go. And, but it was beautiful. But the point I'm trying to get at is that there was intelligence to it, that it knew exactly what it was doing, obviously. And then the stars out there and everything you could see so clearly that if you had no choice, I had a choice eventually, and I did leave. But just because even in the summer, sometimes you'd be looking at that heat and just be feeling it as well. And there's no relief from it. And because you're extracting all of the modern conveniences. And it was literally just a farmhouse with none of that. There wasn't hot water. There was electricity only worked in one part of the house or the other. You could only do this or that. It was like that. And there was no heat. And in the winter, the snow would come in and you'd just be hoping that it wouldn't, and it would sometimes take down the lines, and you'd have to wait a little while till they came and did something with it on that strip out there. And so it was like that. And it was just really incredible, the force of it. And I think that we do have separate worlds happening, and that mankind has created its own world to try to live with that one. And they've sacrificed this and they've sacrificed that, and there's a lot of trade-off about what comes out of that. And there are some that wish they could just go to another planet. But this one is
his name is Elon Musk. yes indeed.
Yeah, because I don't know but why he would want to do it so much. But there's the intelligence of it is the demons and the gods and the angels, the intelligence of it when you're out there, and you can literally begin to hear. Like I remember one time I was out in the cedar grove and I was getting wood, and I never went off into that cedar grove because it was so weird on the side of the hill. And there were all these boulders. And I've been told that boulder fields are kind of dangerous. It's where there are these huge boulders and there were these cedar trees. But boulder fields are considered kind of sacred. And then you match that with cedar, and it's like this sacred sort of space. Well, I was desperate. And so I was going up there and getting wood. And I heard these crows cawing. And crows cawing means that, the crows and the coyotes kind of go together. Many times these animals have a collaborative interaction, a partnership. And I was out there and I was just so uncomfortable that I was out there with them carrying on like that because they're telling each other that I am there. And so I just thought it was really interesting. And
because they'll get some scraps. If the coyotes get you, they'll get some scraps. The corvids, those birds are so smart. Those birds are so smart. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's really weird. Yeah.
Wild stuff. I love it. It's I'm glad you're out of there because it's one of those things that, like I said, you can't really define what that's like until you've been there. And then my grandparents lived again up in the woods, like I said, and a brutal winter could like ruin them for the year type of stuff. So I recognize that, but I was still like a kid. So I didn't really understand what that stuff meant. But as you're describing it, right, like when it's in your face and you have to plan, and then, like I said, man plans, God laughs. That this is reality. This is the reality that we've peeled away from, as you're describing. We've created this sort of faux reality that has nothing to do with nature. And we've even eschewed nature as part of this new reality, the digital reality we're talking about. And then eventually, right, go look at the how the Amazon jungle takes it all back eventually anyway. That's the way it works.
Right. I bet it goes both ways. I bet eventually people will be trying to go the other way. But yeah, I mean, it wasn't, it was, sort of, just, I don't know. You want to know. When you get a chance, you kind of want to know. But when you do find out, like in my case, I would never, I wouldn't choose it unless I had maybe, others.
Yeah.
You don't want to choose it.
Yeah, you certainly need a support system there. Yeah, it's not like we've always said, nature's coming for you, whether you know it or not. Keep your head on a swivel because things can change quickly. Yeah.
Absolutely. Have a great night, Mike. And James, good to see you.
Appreciate the call.
I'll see you on Saturday.
Thanks, Jed. Go give her a follow. You know where to find her, troubledminds.org/friends. It says follow Jennifer here. And scroll down a little bit. It's alphabetical. And of course, follow salcedoparanormal.com. James here. Jen co-hosts with James on the weekends on Salcedo Paranormal. Yeah, good stuff. Yeah. I remember she literally was calling from the attic, like describing it as like the only way she could get a connection for a little while. And this was, I don't know what, it had to be, right? Think about all the years we've been doing this. Like I said, Joe going all the way back to that one show like 6 years ago or 5.5. I can actually go timestamp that and we can not be like, oh, back in the days of yore. We can timestamp that because it's actually it's YouTube keeps track. Anything on anything Jen said there, James? You get the final word too, by the way. Anything to add to that? We'll go to Ricky, and then you get the final word. We'll wrap this up.
Oh, no problem. Yeah, just great call from Jen as always. And I remember that too. I'm with you. I'm glad that she's in town now in a way too, because I can't imagine that just being out there in my situation where I'm at now. It's just I know I'm as of now I'm better off in an apartment. Like I'm just at that point. But yeah, great call. I'm looking forward to Ricky and thank you for having me on.
Glad to have you. You were the best, the glue of the show. The glue of the show. Follow James, SalcidoParanormal.com, just like it sounds, SALSIDO, paranormal.com. Let's go to Ricky. Ricky in the tri-state area. What's up, brother? You're on Troubled Minds. How are you, sir? Go right ahead.
Good. Glad to be here. There's been some great calls tonight.
Yeah.
Great topic for sure.
We have a knack, don't we? Thanks for staying up late and being patient. What's on your mind? Go right ahead.
I'll just want to call in, tell them a couple of stories. I was scrolling on Facebook while you were talking, and I posted a picture earlier in the chat. It was kind of funny because it's a biodegradable urn. Turn your ashes into a tree, and had a little girl in there that said, "Do you want haunted forests? That's how you get haunted forests."
That's exactly how you get haunted forests.
It was crazy how it synced together with everything what you were talking about, and I was just scrolling through, and all of a sudden, poop! I'm like, "Holy hell, that's wild!" But
it's my way, Ricky. I just channel synchronicities. That's what I do these days.
Absolutely. I just had a little bit, a couple of things. What was just everybody talking about? Kind of throw pieces here and there, but I went. I've been trying to go camping more lately, just because it's just getting back into get back in nature and just get away and use it. Because you if you're able to do it, it's a lot of places only like $20, $30 or something like that a night. You can stay and and it's compared to $200 a night at a hotel, so you can actually get away and stay a week at a campsite and be actually kind of affordable. But I did on the last year I traveled the Natchez Trace and went all the way up it, and there's lots of crazy places up and down it. It's like, for the ones that don't know, it's like 440 miles of just highway. And if you ever do go down, make sure you get some gas, because make sure you pay attention to gas gauge, because there's no stores and nothing on it. You got to get off the trace to get to any stores. But there's ancient Indian burial mounds and ruins and all kinds of stuff all the way up and down it, all kinds of amazing places. And I went camping by myself, and the first night was hot. It was terrible. It was terribly hot. But I remember seeing an orb come up. I was sitting there, I heard something outside, and I looked, and I opened up the door, and it was like there was only like a couple other campers there that night, because I went around and looked afterwards the next day, and it was like I was pretty much by myself, except for like in the opposite direction there was somebody, but it was a big old bright light come up, and then it disappeared. I'm like, it's time to go to bed. But and it was just wild. It was like, what? And I was like, man, where's my phone? Of course, it just like, as soon as it seen it, it just got real bright, and then it poop, and it's gone. I was like, I couldn't get a chance to take a picture or even try to take a picture or video. It was wild, but there you can get out there in the woods and get in there and you can get in your own mind. But you can kind of feel the energy and stuff. And I know you can feel like the temperature changing and stuff like that, and you can see how you react. I remember I told it on James's channel. I told a story where I was actually I decided to ride my bike to work one day, and I forgot about this cemetery, and I was riding on. It was like during the summer, and it's hot. And as soon as I got to where that cemetery was, the temperature dropped. And then I looked over and remembered it was there. And of course, then I started pedaling really hard. But and then it warmed back up. It was one of them eerie things. So if the energy out there in the woods and the forest, it's amazing, and it can kind of ground you, get you back into nature. And they say actually like swimming in like natural water and pure water can actually kind of help bring some of that negativity and stuff like that out of you. So I mean, it's good to get out and everything. And but you can get in your mind, because like with the land I'm at now, I camped here a couple of times before I actually started moving buildings and stuff here and started I'd have some bonfires, so I didn't want to leave the bonfire, alone. So, but I remember the first night I did it, I was sitting there and everything kind of cool, and the wind turned, and when it did, there's like a house. There's some houses way down, like probably a quarter mile down the road or so, but they have big wind chimes, and all of a sudden I start hearing these weird sounds coming through the woods. Like, what in the hell is that? And then, then I realized what it was. It was wind chimes, but I could have got my mind in all kinds of different states of scared and running, and but
yeah. The woods makes some weird sounds, and those wind chimes were obviously from the Blair Witch cabin, so I'm sure you were totally safe.
Oh, absolutely. And it was talking about. I think Joey was talking about having where people talk passing on it. I forget how it was, but it popped in my head and made me think about. I think it made me think about my grandfather. I called him Baba, but I remember he had a stroke right there at the very end, and he was all kinds of like silly. They had to put a bunch of extra like little pads for your the meters and stuff you put on. They put a bunch of extra ones on there because he was pulling them off, so he was playing with the ones that so they were trying to keep him from playing with the ones that actually did anything. And he kind of like, it was like he went back to the child mind, and it was like he was sitting there and he was singing gospel songs, and like right before it was time for him to go, it was a wild kind of started talking to maybe talking to his mama, I don't know, but it was a wild moment of time, when right there. But he was short up. He was guess he was ready to go home,
It does happen.
And then
rest in peace.
For sure.
Rest in peace, Grandpa.
Both my grandparents, it was wild. Like my dad's dad, hell, he knew. He called everybody. Was like, he knew it was almost his time, so he was bringing everybody in. He's like, I know I got much time left, and which his passing always kind of irks me, because the reason he was sick was because of Vietnam and all the Agent Orange he inhaled and stuff like that. But and then but on a weird thing, I was sitting there and my ADD brain going along. I was scrolling through stuff. I'm multitasking because I can't help it. Just my brain don't work right. But did you? I know you're out there, Mike. Did you see about all them piles of cremated remains out there and outside of Vegas?
I didn't actually.
See that story?
I didn't. Send that to me if you can. When you get a moment, anytime, tomorrow, the next day, whatever, as you see fit. I don't know anything about it. I haven't heard of it till you just brought it up right now.
Somebody out in the desert, they found 70 piles of cremated remains. So, it ran in my head. I was like, well, I'll play with Grok real quick, and I told it give me a dictation for a story of, but make it, because I asked about it, and because I put it in there, I was like, is that real? Because I seen it on Facebook, and I said, man, is this real or not? And it's like, yeah, it's real. Somebody did find them. And I said, well, make me a story and twist it with vampires. Maybe it was a bunch of vampires and they got caught in the sunlight and got burned up. And so it made me a little quick story, but yeah, I don't know yet. It's like 70 piles of cremated remains out there. So they say the possibility that maybe somebody retired, and if somebody don't reclaim the remains, they store them in a room, and maybe somebody went and cleaned out that storeroom and just poured them out. But I don't know, or maybe it could be vampires.
Vampires, or Las Vegas was built by the mob. That probably plays in that story as well. Not to be morbid, but they still find. By the way, as Lake Mead is shrinking and shrinking, the water level, that they find like barrels that are like those 50-gallon barrels that are filled with cement, and they find human remains in them still. So, I mean, the mob was here. I'm laughing morbidly. It's not funny, but it definitely plays in this part of this neck of the woods, as we say.
Oh yeah. I think I heard something, but they found another one just the other day. It was it's wild. Yeah, there's for sure the mob. They built Vegas and up around close to me. It's a couple hours away from me, Hot Springs, Arkansas. They did up there too. They did a lot of the mob and stuff. Did a lot of stuff up there. A lot of gangsters. They had them hot springs and hot baths and stuff. So they come up there and enjoy them. But the mobsters built Hot Springs, Arkansas too. So pretty wild stuff.
Doesn't surprise me a bit. the mobsters are busy doing mobster things, and it's where we came from. The old right pre-surveillance state, you could mobster away and get away with it. What they put Al Capone away for? That's right, tax evasion. Not for all the murders and stuff. Nope. Not being a mob boss. Nope. Tax evasion. Yeah. It's nice to see that our FBI is still as pathetic as it's always been. Anyway, not to derail us onto that, but yeah. What else you got? Go ahead, sir.
Oh, that's it. Just I just thought about it. A little about the natural strays. There's a lot of energy out in the woods, and you can freak yourself out. But once you get out there and get kind of acclimated and stuff like that, it kind of goes away. And it's like, hey, I'm good. And I'm probably truly safer out there than you are in any city right now for damn sure. So, so it's it's good to get back out to nature and see what kind of things. But I believe, I think a lot of the people maybe over here is we can kind of have a sense of energy, and if you do have feeling some negative energy, it might be good to move on and find another little spot, another put of wood. There's lots of wood, so
yeah, don't ignore it.
Right there.
Definitely don't ignore it.
There.
Trust your intuition.
No.
Trust your intuition.
No, absolutely. I learned that the hard way many times. It's on lots of things in life, and now it's if my guts tell me something, I'm running with it. And we used to do that at work all the time. And the guys at work, I was like, I used to run an asphalt plant. I'm like, that's we're cutting off. He's like, what are you cutting off? I was like, man, trust me. I just, my guts tell me cut off. He's like, okay. Well, they cut the plant off, and 10 minutes later, somebody called, hey, the paver broke down, so we need you to shut off. I was like, hey, I shut off 10 minutes ago. You're good. And they're like, how the hell did you know that? I was like, I don't know. That my gut told me, hey, something's up, and I shut her down, and it saved me a bunch of troubles a bunch of times. So, thankfully,
trust your intuition. Before you go, one quick story from me. My grandfather was a police officer in Southern California, and sometime in the 60s, he did a routine traffic stop, and he told the story like 10 times because it spooked him forever. That it was like a routine traffic stop. He pulls over like a teenage girl. She's like 15 or 16 or something. Maybe not even old enough to drive. Who knows? But she was definitely like kind of driving a little crazy and stuff. So he like pulls her over to see what's up. And then he's like, there was something that was just screaming, his intuition just screaming at him. And he didn't know what, because there was nobody else in the car. It didn't seem dangerous. It just seemed, maybe, like somebody stole mom's car and went for a joyride, like completely innocuous. Okay, let's get you back home and, get this car back to where it belongs. But he crept up along the side of the car because his intuition wouldn't stop screaming. And he leaned over to open the door because she wouldn't roll down the window. And he opened the door, and a .357 Magnum revolver rolled out of her lap onto the ground. And there's absolutely no way he could have known that, obviously, because it's right. And it doesn't fit the profile, a teenage girl with a gun and the whole, but somehow he knew. Crazy. And if he had, again, done like the normal traffic stop, walked up to the window, knocked on the window, rolled down the window, boom, right? So that type of stuff, like I said, when your actual intuition screams at you, recognize what's happening. Don't ignore it. Don't ignore it. Ricky, you were the best, brother.
Absolutely. appreciate you and appreciate y'all having me, and appreciate everybody, all the calls and everything. It's just a great time for sure.
You were the best, as you know. Ricky, you know you love him. The Anything is Possible podcast. Go check it out. Links are in the description down below. troubledminds.org/friends. It says follow Ricky. It's alphabetical, right? Again, alphabetical. Do the thing. Very easy. Check it out. He does live streams on Wednesday with and other times too with Jamie and Dave. Sorry, I forget the name sometimes, but fantastic stuff going over there. And do check it out. Again, troubledminds.org/friends. Scroll down a little bit and follow Ricky. It's right there. You can't miss it. Alphabetical. Follow Ricky. Please go follow Ricky in all the places. And yeah, great call. Answers few, questions many. But what is that intuition effect? And like I always say, there's a lot of things happening in play in the human space that we ignore. And I think we should ignore them less. James, what do you got? Take us home.
Oh, so many things. Great calls from everyone. Ricky and then Jen. Always glad to have Jen on my show with me. Funny enough, we're actually taking this weekend off because of other plans, but the show is still going to come out as usual. And she's a co-host on my show on Saturdays. And but yeah, I find it really amazing how if you look into all these things, whether it's the woods, whether it's the desert, even I've heard of weird accounts out there. I do agree with Jen. There's two worlds. There's the civilization. There's places where people are all packed in, and then there's just the rest of the world and nature and everything. And I do think it's important to trust your intuition out there, wherever you're at, whatever environment you're in, because you never know what predators might be out there as far as animals or people that might not have the best intentions. But also, there's all kinds of reports everywhere, all around the world, of all kinds of experiences people have with other beings that they can't explain. So, and the threshold thing also, with it, I think it's an amazing parallel because if you think about if there's all kinds of thresholds in the forest and in nature that are out there, isn't that similar also to the way in cities there's all kinds of thresholds? There's doorways everywhere, just all over the place. In buildings and going inside buildings and out and just within buildings. It's funny how they're so different, but yet also in different ways so similar.
Yeah, always in motion the future is. Also always in motion the present is. And if we don't recognize it when it comes, again, like I said, trust your gut. It makes a ton of sense after the fact, but when your intuition's screaming, give it the space it needs because it's picking up on things that you would never dream you can actually pick up on. Back to the Rupert Sheldrake and that stuff. Just a couple quick shout outs. Treelin T, what's up? Sorry I missed you. DTM, Stephen England was here. Ioxy, you guys are the best. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks for staying up late with us. And yeah, answers few, questions many. That's really the mantra of this. And you decide. As always, you decide. That's the entire point of these ideas and conversations. James, you're the best. Thanks for staying up late. So you are going to be around this week or no? When are you taking off to go stay elsewhere?
This weekend. I'll still be online. I just won't be doing shows.
Okay.
But yeah, I'll be, not doing shows this Friday. Well, really the rest of this week. But I have shows that will still come out the rest of this week.
Gotcha. Okay.
And back to regular schedule next week.
Okay, just double checking. All right, so James will be online. We'll be able to contact him. Be safe, all the things. Carney season has hit, which also rings in spooky season. So there you go. There you go. The countdown, the inexorable march to Halloween begins. All Hallows Eve will become... I don't know what will it become. I don't know.
5 years of my podcast.
There you go. Oh, hell yeah, that's right. Hell yeah, that's right. 5 years of James's podcast. There you go. See, look at all the years, all the things. Time and pressure is how water cut the Grand Canyon, as they say. Sometimes all you have to do is show up. Because guess what? A lot of people don't show up. Right. Shout out Sweets. All the new mods over there on Rumble. Thanks for being cool and chill. Thanks for rolling through all the ideas and being nice to each other. Like I said, like I've always said, this is a human space. And if we can't be nice to each other, what the hell are we doing? We may as well be Republicans and Democrats and threatening to stab each other as they are in the actual literal direct modern zeitgeist. We don't have to do that stuff. Anyway, if you want to help Troubled Minds, you know what to do. Help our friends. troubledminds.org/friends. Scroll down. There's a wall of people there. Shout out Dragon Rose. I know I missed you too. We'll get you added to the list. Look, if you should be on this list, you should be. Like, there's no. All you have to do is help the show. That's it. 1 iota. Repost us, tweet us, spread the word. Do whatever, right? Call in once in a while. Contribute in the chat. That's it. It's very simple. Just help. Just help a little bit, and you are entitled to be added to this list. A lot of amazing people over the years we've met. That's some come and go. And they're back and they're not back, and then some are here every single night. So shout out to each and every one of you, and thank you for being part of these conversations and caring about, like I always say, an unstructured weirdo space or whatever. I don't know, whatever. troubledminds.org/friends. If you want to help us directly, spread the word. Let people know a conversation's happening where we're not going to tell you who to vote for. We're not going to chase down their paradigms of ideas and the binary political space because everybody else does it. So how about we do something else? Let's think about the human experience and consciousness itself and talk about how weird and wild it gets. Very simple. Bring people in and just remind them we don't do shenanigans here. Like, if you're going to come in here and act a political fool, and try and go after people and tell people they're wrong, that's not our game. We just don't do that. You will get on my nerves instantly, so please don't do that. Anyway, help our friends, spread the word. If you want to help directly, you can sub up on Rumble. Shout out Rumble fam over there. Link's going to be at troubledminds.org. If you want to help directly in other ways, you can buy the AI music. The Rogue Topas is now a thing, and you can check that out at troubledfans.com, or get the hottest Troubled Minds merch, the hats and shirts and all the cool stuff. It's at troubledfans.com. Yes, it is a play on OnlyFans. No, you will not find Michael Strange in a hot tub, but you will find the hottest Troubled Minds merch around. That's how the original commercial went. That's it. It's as simple as that. I appreciate you guys. Thanks for staying up late. Thanks for bearing with all my imperfections and wondering freely about the world we live in. As we finish, this one goes out to all the new mods on Rumble. Thanks for bearing with me. Be sure, be strong, be true. Thank you for listening. From our troubled minds to yours, have a great night. Nice job, fam. Appreciate it very much. Oops, that's the wrong one. Starting soon. Where's the one? Oh, that way. There we go. There you go. All right. See you guys on Tuesday, God willing. Have a great night. Wait, is it Tuesday?